Hello, we're live and welcome to season 2 of Red Dwarf discussion. Today we have with us Windology and Darren Who. Please introduce yourself and let the people know what you are and who you are and what you like.
Okay, you go first.
Okay. Why? Who am I? I do wonder about that some days. I'm a what am I? I'm a huge fan of so many different sci-fi franchises and genres. I mean, I grew up on classic Star Wars, A New Hope, seeing that in the theaters, waiting with bated breath every summer, every however many years we had to wait it back then. Was it 3 or 4 years in between or something? Star Trek, classic Star Trek, and all sorts of different types of sci-fi, serious sci-fi, comedies, things like that. I'm a huge fan of Spaceballs, the film, that there's just so many funny things out there. And I had the pleasure of getting really acquainted with Red Dwarf and starting to watch that since I've been here in this country, and it's absolutely one of my all-time favorite programs now. I really love it.
Thank you. Darren?
Right, hi, I'm Darren. I'm Wen's husband. I'm a sci-fi author. I've grown up loving sci-fi, influence, classic TV shows. I'm 52, so I grew up in that wonderful era where we had Doctor Who, classic Star Trek,
Yay!
Blake Seven, and as Wen said, we went to the cinema, saw things like Star Wars. So we came through that era, and I've sort of grown up loving the genre in all its forms, in film, TV, books, whatever. And Red Dwarf, of course, when that came along, ticked a lot of boxes, and I just loved it from the start.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And you all know me, I hope. But
yes, indeed.
A slight segue, so we'll go into it. Awooga, emergency going on. There's still emergency going on. Activate, back up, activated. And hello.
Hey.
Activated hologram. And I kept this actually off screen, so even Wen and Darren didn't even know what I was going to do.
Great. Oh my God, that's brilliant.
I thought I'd just dig out my outfit, and there you go. So I thought, here we go. Hello.
Oh my God, brilliant. I noticed you put hologram next to your name, and I never really thought you'd really go for it. That's brilliant.
I decided just because, here we go. That's why when we were talking about it, I didn't want to say, I've got the shirt and I've got the hologram. I just thought, don't want to say too much. So I decided to go hard.
Oh, fantastic.
So, ego activated, 99%. Charisma, 1. But yes, brilliant. Thank you for joining us. I like yourselves. I grew up on sci-fi. My mum used to call me Square Eyes because I was always sitting in front of the TV. My dad liked the old movies, so I grew up with old movies. Laurel and Hardy, Will Hay, Abbott and Costello, classic sci-fi. Space 1999.
Oh yes, I had that very one, that model. Yes,
that's probably one of the only few things that I've still got left from my childhood. Most of the other stuff are lost, broken.
Yeah, there it is.
But yeah, grew up with Space 1999, original series Star Trek, Blake Seven, Sapphire and Steel, stuff like that. And I grew up watching all the classics. So it was just, when Red Dwarf started, it just felt like an instant classic. So falling into Red Dwarf was easy. And I've been watching Red Dwarf. My kids grew up watching Red Dwarf with me. My daughter went to a Comic-Con with me. And same idea. She dressed up the same because she loved it. Met Chris Barry. She loved that as well.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
she was over the moon that Chris actually recognised us after we'd gone, because mine says senior technician rather than second technician, and she's junior technician. And then when he was chatting to us, he noticed it. And then when we went to the forum for a chat, he basically asked it up, and he recognised us both. So she got 2 salutes from Chris Barry, and she was over the moon. Mind you, I can't say I wasn't pleased. Giving you the salute, I can't do it because of my arm, but I got
the salute.
2 salutes from Chris, so I was happy over the moon. So
fantastic.
Yep. So season 2, episode 1. What was your initial thoughts when you saw Kryten?
Do you want to go first, babe?
Yeah, Kryten. It's sort of slightly difficult to say now because you can't help make comparisons to Robert Llewellyn. But you can see the basis for the character there. It was there that you could see what could be worked on. I know disrespect to that actor who did it first, but obviously once we got to see, jumping ahead now, season 3 and Robert Llewellyn came in, he really turned that character into something special. But it was good. It was a good start.
Yeah, I think you're right there, because you can't help comparing them to Robert. And David did a really good job, considering it was only meant to be a 1 episode character. Yeah. They obviously wanted him back, and he was already busy, and they had to go and find someone else. But I think because he was so well liked, I suppose, for that 1 episode, that's why they wanted to bring him back. And he did such a good job, especially some of the funny lines. Are you a doctor? Are you sure?
Yeah. So you're not sure they're dead? Yeah.
Yeah. I was only gone 2 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, some of the classic Kryten lines don't even compare to some of the original Kryten lines, because "Are you sure I was only gone 2 minutes?" and putting the lipstick on the skeleton and things like that. It's just he played it so straight.
That's what impressed me so much about that whole scene. It looked so seamless, and it was so effortless. And he, as you say, he played it so straight. That's what made it so funny, because he literally had no idea that they were dead. And the faces of the boys when they come in, and they realize that there's 3 skeletons at the table.
I didn't seem to bother the cat. They're a bit on the skinny side, but what's wrong with that?
Yeah, you're a little skinny. That's all right.
I think even the things between Rim and Lister, I don't know, girls, if you want to know this, but he's got a load of birds. What's wrong, big man? I think the one in the blonde one's giving you the eye. It's just so seamless as well. But it's the fact is, as you said, David Ross, he just played it so straight, so as if there was 3 actresses sitting there, I don't think he could have did it any different, because he played it as if, they're there, and he's making them tea, making them soup, and it's seamless because of that. And I think that's where you get, they didn't parody it and make it look silly. I think later on in the episode, they sort of parodied it, and it made it look a wee bit silly, like when he had the list from Rimmer, and he was peeling a potato and ironing at the same time, and that looked too much of a parody of it. Whereas I think if they just did a wee bit of montage of him doing all the different things, it would have been a slightly funnier. But because he could play it so straight and so funny, I think that's why Kryten actually was a popular character from that episode, and that's why they wanted to bring him back, because he was just so well done.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Gwen. Go ahead.
I was just going to say I quite like David Ross's Kryten, but I've also seen Robert Llewellyn's Kryten now, obviously. So I love them both. I think they both brought something slightly different, but something equally entertaining to the character. And I noticed just now in the chat, Sadako's got a quote, which was one of my favorites from this episode. It said, "Our only contact with intelligent life in 3 million years, and it's the android version of Norman Bates."
Yes, that's it.
Yeah,
that was a great line.
It was, and there was. The problem is, as I said, we were saying earlier, that there's so many quotable lines from this season in particular.
Yeah,
I just thought it was so well done, and I was going to say, I was talking last week. I basically said that you can't imagine anybody else redoing this show, because somebody had said online that they should recast and reboot it, and I thought no. How can you imagine anybody playing the cat? Can you imagine anybody else playing?
No way.
Or Lister?
Danny John-Jules. Forever.
Danny John-Jules is just hilariously funny. He's
brilliant.
He's a cat. He's a cat in human form. It's just the first season. He basically, you can imagine a cat doing that.
And as cat owners, that's what makes it even funnier for us as well, because anybody that has had a cat, knows. And he's, Danny John-Jules, running around the halls spritzing something, going, "That's mine. That's mine. That's mine."
I used to have to.
I love him.
Yeah, I know exactly. And even the fact is, just be uninterested. Are you sleeping? No, I'm not awake. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to him. But it just Danny John-Jules just kept answering.
Yeah.
And it's just, yes, you can imagine a cat just not interested in what's happening to you. I want you to be interested in what's happening to me. And I remember having the cats, and that's why I thought Danny could not be replaced in that. Neither could Craig-Charles. You know what I mean?
Oh.
You can't imagine anybody. The thing is, the point I was getting to was Kryten. I said as well, I can't imagine anybody else doing Kryten. Although, if David Ross had got it, he played it so well, I wouldn't have been able to imagine anybody else filling that role. But because it wasn't like a change in character as such, because it was only one episode, and when they brought him back, it's the same as they did with Kachansky.
Yeah,
it's
that
aspect of it. I think because you can see somebody else playing the Kryten part, so some people can say, well, you could see it happening with recasting. It says, but you can't now, because Robert Llewellyn nails the part.
Yeah.
Yes, David Ross played it very well in the one single episode. You just can't imagine now, after you've seen Robert Llewellyn doing it, him in that post. And I can't imagine it ever being rebooted or recast. You've seen what happened to the American one.
I don't even want to. I don't even care what they did.
The American 2. There was 2, and they were both as bad as each other.
I just hate when they try and do that. It's just a complete fail.
It doesn't work.
It's when they take a program which is successful and then try and change it. The reason they've taken it is because it's successful. Why change it?
Exactly.
I never liked The Office, but I could understand why The Office was as successful in the States, because they took the premise and just changed bits of it, but the whole premise hadn't changed. Whereas, like Red Dwarf, they changed the whole premise of it because the Dave Lister character was a slob, and Craig-Charles portrays the slob, last man on the earth, very well. Bucco or something like that.
Yeah.
Alan last week told us the name and I can't remember. He was just too handsome. Him sort of complaining he didn't have a chance with the ladies. No, it does not work. Craig-Charles, you can imagine, because he had the whole persona of saying that. Yes, if he was dressed up and looked to the nines, yes, it's different. But he just sort of went down the...
Yeah, I love Lister's. I totally love Lister's character. He always makes me laugh. He's definitely... Cat and Lister are probably my two favourites.
Definitely Cat's my favourite, I must admit. Yes, I do like the boys itself, and I do. And it's just because I couldn't pull a cat outfit. I just could not do it. It's just... I'm about as graceful as a bag of sand. So I could never imagine even A, dressing up as a cat, or B, looking as cool as cat. It's just
I know you can't. No, there is not a human being alive that's as cool as Danny John-Jules doing cat.
Exactly.
I think.
No, he was perfect casting for that part.
Oh, definitely. I think, and that's the thing. I think they were all perfect casting. The 4 boys in the series were perfectly cast. Even Norman Lovett's dry humour, a dry delivery of a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he was great. I mean, he's one of some of the funniest lines as well because he's so droll and deadpan. You know, there's an emergency going on. It's still going on, and things like
that. Dead, Dave. They're all dead. They're dead. It just even just the way the lines sort of flow, and you just imagine a 3 million old senile computer just going down that route.
Yes. One of my favorite lines was, "I've got an IQ of 6,000, the same as 6,000 car parking attendants."
And he also did the one with the PE teachers as well.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Just looking in the chat now, Sadako was running the lines about the dog's milk line as well. It's really funny.
That was hilarious.
He was saying it lasts longer than any other milk, dog's milk. Why is that? No bugger will drink it.
And even the fact is, a lot of the American viewers, if they're watching that, even the part about it's full of goodness, it's full of marrowbone jelly, they might not have got that hint, but we obviously grew up with that advert for Pedigree Chum, I think it was. It's full of goodness, it's full of marrowbone jelly. And the fact is that came out just after the adverts had been on, so we grew up with those adverts. So when they made the comment, I just smiled. Yes, I understood that one. Whereas I could understand people nowadays, or even people in the States when they're first seeing it, it's a funny line, but there's a wee bit more behind it because of the joke of the advert.
Yeah, it works better with that context. I remember that.
Yes, but Craig Bierko, that's what it was. That's the good-looking guy that is meant to be a slob and is unlucky with women. Yeah, we believe you. But I think one of my favourite lines in Kryten was definitely, "My God, are you sure? I've only been going to that." It's just the realism and the questioning at the same time. I just thought that line sort of summed up the Kryten character at the beginning. As I said, the Norman Bates.
And I quite liked how he's watching his soap opera as well, Androids.
Yes.
I had a good laugh at that.
It's just, you could just imagine the soap operas, and I think that was a dig at the American soap operas as well. The soap operas over here were bad, but it was just a dig at the American soap operas.
Yeah.
So I did think the fact that it's singing androids, and was that Tony Slattery played one of the androids, and he'd been in a few bits and pieces throughout the season. So I think it was Tony Slattery played the android in Androids, one of the androids.
Okay.
I'm sure it was him. But as an introduction to Kryten, I thought it was very well done. And it would have been nice if he'd actually joined at that point, but the fact that they managed to continue without him and then decided that actually we need him back, I thought it was actually quite well done.
The ending is so funny when Lister takes him to see all the classic films, Rebel Without a Cause, and then
Easy Rider. Yes, and the fact is, what you got? I think this is what you call rebelling.
He's like, "I need your bike. You got it."
But even the cat, sort of. I could never understand you humans. You never get a cat fetching into me. You threw it, you get it.
Yeah, you don't get it.
Yeah.
If you wanted it so bad, why'd you throw it away?
Exactly. And I think that was for a start of the second season. It made people realise that it's improving. It's getting better. First season was good because it established the theme, the reality within the show. Season 2, the first episode, didn't let you down. It dragged you back in. It actually says, look, we are still as funny, if not funnier, than last season. And I think the Kryten episode was a good starting point for season 2.
Yeah, it definitely was.
And then even that, they even improved on it with Better Than Life.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, it was very rumor. I've got to do this, and then
yes,
it's just sorry.
Rimmer just completely, they go into it all happy and, just getting every possible fantastic thing out of it that they can. And then Rimmer goes.
I think when it actually, for me, it turned. And I think all in Rimmer's favour, I don't think it was Rimmer's fault. I think it was the cat's fault. Because everything was going fine right up until the point where his dad says, Mom, disappointed in you. And Rimmer goes, this is not my fantasy. And Cat comes in and says, no, it's mine. And I think it seemed to be from that point, it goes downhill. I think it was the Cat introduced the fact is it might be Better Than Life, but it can go wrong if somebody else wants it to. And his mind just started rebelling. To me, looking at it, that's how I felt. It seemed to be a case of it was a trigger. It's a trigger for his mind to actually just say, no, it's not going to be good. But I think that seemed to be at that point the trigger just went.
That's true. Yeah, he sort of brought him back to his neuroses.
Yes, which was unfortunate, but it was still funny.
Well, it was great. But I think it showed that the Rimmer's main character flaw is his self-loathing.
Yeah,
that's why he's like he is.
Yeah, and the fact that he was talking about his parents when he got the letter. Your father is dad. Of course he's dad. What does it mean? Your father is dad. He's dead. Yeah, so sorry about that. And it was just a case of you must have really missed him. No, I hated him. Yeah, it just didn't seem it's a juxtaposition. It was a case of I'm so sad that he's dead 3 million years ago, but I hated him, I'm glad. But no. And I think it's good because it's the first time they've actually acknowledged that everybody's dead, Dave.
Yeah.
Because although they mentioned it and stuff like that, this is the first time they've said, well, I know they're all dead. It's 3 million years in the future. I know they're all dead, but hearing that they're dead can throw you for a loop. And I thought that was quite well done. And I thought they've got a new set, they want to use it, hence the reason why the observation platform. Because that was the first time the observation platform popped up, but it did pop up a couple of times in this season. And I think that's because I've got a new set and we're going to use it.
Yeah.
And it's still good. And even some of the things, Cat again. I'm hungry. Runner's dad's dead. I would have preferred chicken. So, yep, that's a cat.
That's it. That bit with the observation platform, I remember I noticed something. I think one of the influences on Red Dwarf is John Carpenter's Dark Star.
Mm-hmm.
We watched that again the other day, and they've got a similar observation platform in their ship. And everything
Dark Star actually it's been a good 5-10 years. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
I need to make sure this doesn't pop off.
It's worth a rewatch. It's worth a rewatch. You could see possibly what sort of part of the influence.
Yeah, I'm sure I've got Dark Star up there somewhere. I definitely have got Dark Star, but it was one of the first of my collection, so it's obviously all the other ones have just sort of piled up and top. But it has been a good few years since I've seen Dark Star, so I will dig it out. I've got a few things I need to review, and and I keep adding in. It's trying to find the space in my schedule. And the good thing is, because I work from home and I work in IT, I can have things on in the background. And I'm no one for listening to radio or things like that.
Yeah.
Even an audiobook, I can't really listen to when I'm working. But a TV show, because I've watched them so many times, I could just hear wee bits of it, and I know everything it's going to they're saying, and I can visualize it. So I always have TV on in the background, even when I'm working. The only time I stop it is when I'm doing a Teams meeting or something like that. But I just, instead of a radio on or something, I've always got something on, even if I'm not watching it. Could be on that screen over there, and I'm working in this one. As long as I can hear it, and it just gives me the pictures. And if something's funny I want to watch it, and then back to what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I've always got that. So my TV playlist is running 24/7 near enough. It's at least definitely 16 hours a day, because I come in here till at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm here until about 12 o'clock in the morning again. So I've always got stuff running. Yeah. So yes, I'm not always working in here. This is my man cave. I'm in here all day, every day, 7 days a week. Yeah. My wife loves it. I'm sure I've got a lock on the outside of my door, so she just click. Yeah.
It looks good there. It's a very impressive set of shelves behind you.
Yeah, that's only they go right up to the roof, and I've got the same. I've got smaller shelves at this side, but that's only 3 of the 4 shelves at there, so it does go.
Oh yeah,
and it does go all the way up.
In fact, I think it's comparable to Gary from Nerdrotic. You know,
second person that said that to me. Yep. Thank you very much. My friend Jordan, the one I used to do the live streaming with, he basically says it's a very Nerdrotic backdrop you've got, and I thought, what a compliment!
Oh, well done.
Yeah, definitely is.
But Gary's not got that. He's not got a Babylon 5 figures.
Oh,
I think Gary's watching Babylon 5 now.
He's not even finished the first season, I think.
I have a feeling he might be adding some.
Yes,
I can imagine, because I've got the 6 up there as well as those 2.
Yeah, I think
I've got the same idea. I've got mugs and bits and bobs. It's superb. It's the same as classic sci-fi. Great.
Yep.
And I do like it, but that's not Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
Better than life. I think definitely this was a slight turning point as well between I think it was a slight turning point between the Rimmer and Lister character, because up until that point, the two of them disliked each other. They still disliked each other, but there was a bit more of an understanding after this.
Yes.
Yeah, they seem like proper roommates.
Yeah, because I can't imagine it could have gone too much longer for them hating each other that much. But it gave them a wee bit of understanding. They still slagged each other. They still go on and moan at each other. They still do things to annoy each other. But that's, as you said, that's roommates. It's friends with that mates, all the time. So I think it gave a wee bit better understanding. And it was because of the letter, Dad's dead, or Dad's dad, and he fell asleep in his Jeep.
Yeah, it was. It was like a little moment there that they had, wasn't it?
Yeah. Which the cat ruined, but yeah.
And you actually felt sympathy for Rimmer.
Yes, because
in that little moment you thought, oh, you know.
He's just realised that, yes, he's dead and everybody else is dead, but he's just realised he's lost his dad.
Mm.
Yeah.
Then you find out he hated him, and just basically, but it was still his dad, I suppose, when it comes down to it.
He hated him, but he respected him.
Yes.
That was interesting line, that.
Yep.
Aye.
It definitely gave a lot of depth. It really fleshed out Rimmer's character all the more, I think, that scene. Because
I quite agree with that, aye.
Yeah. I'm struggling to remember some of the lines from that episode, and I've seen them all today. And they all had fantastic lines in them. I mean, the better than life one. The what was it? Rimmer met Napoleon.
I'm your my favourite dictator. You're my favourite fascist dictator. You sign it to Rimsey, my best friend. It's for my sister. Even with the cat. Oh, there's Marlene. She's half woman, half fish. I thought it would have been the other way around.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. They got away with so much great, just sort of really dark, sort of naughty humor in this. It's so funny.
even the boo boo be do, boo boo be don't.
Yeah.
That's a good
Even
line.
playing golf, throwing the club. Although I think, see, I can't imagine that was they made the thing the week before about you throw the stick. Why, if you wanted to, you should have gone and get it. Yeah, they've got the cat playing golf like that. If it was a dog, it would have been funnier because you can imagine the dog throwing the stick and then going to get it.
Yeah.
Stick. But with a cat, the way he played golf, and I thought, wee bit silly. But there could have been other ones. They could have actually had it, the ball, instead of a ball, it was a bit of string. He sits on the string and whacks the string, and it unleashes it, and he has to really. That would have been funnier if they'd done something cat related. Whereas to me, the golf scene reminded more dog related because he was throwing the stick and going to get it.
Yeah, that's very cool. I never really thought.
But then again, sometimes I think a wee bit too much into things, but it doesn't stop me enjoying it. I just sit there and go, really? After he said that I wouldn't throw a stick and then go and get it, you wanted it, why'd you throw it? Then the next episode, he's throwing a stick and then going to get it. And that's how they played golf, which I thought was same idea. It was funny, but I thought it was as a juxtaposition as a cat going to fetch a stick after the previous episode. It just sort of didn't work, but it was still visually funny. But yeah, I've had
plenty
years to think what would have made it more cat-like. Hence the reason why the ball of string and hitting it and then going and winding it up.
Yes,
because you can imagine a cat with a ball of string playing golf.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen more of those types of gags for Cat's character, because every time he's on the screen, I'm just howling with laughter. He's so funny.
Definitely. That's why my wife, for my birthday last year, got me a John-Jules video message.
Oh, wonderful!
It's on my playlist.
Was that on Cameo?
Say again?
Was that on Cameo?
I think so. It was one of the streams she got it, and wait a minute, I've got the link somewhere. I've got so many links, unfortunately. That's the problem with my stuff. I just actually save everything. Celebrity video messages.
Oh,
yeah, you said he had a good old he had a bit of fun with you on the message.
Oh, he did. He basically, like my wife had actually put down, he likes Doctor Who, he likes Dungeons and Dragons, he likes Magic the Gathering, and he says he is a doctor who sits in his dungeon watching Dragon's Den with his friends watching Magic Roundabout, or he gathers with his friends to watch Magic Roundabout, and he's got all the words, but he's just taking it as if he's just winding it up. And I thought, my wife says, "Oh, he's misunderstood," and I says, "No, I saw the joke straight away because he was just taking the mickey because he took all the words and put them into a sentence. It just made me sound like a wee." It's just the way he did it. It made it sound as if I was just one of the wee guys that just sat there. And I think it's just the dungeons, a doctor who did this in the dungeon with watching Dragon, and it's just all the words were there. He just actually took the mickey out of it, and I thought, very good.
That sounds like him. Yeah,
but it's on one of my playlists, and it's definitely funny. I was so pleased. I basically watch it every time I need an ego boost.
Yeah, they are. It's great now that you can do that, and it's. I mean, depending upon who it is, they all sort of charge slightly different fees, but it's such a personal thing now to be able to do that. We did one. I did one for Darren for a comedian that we like, and Vic DiBitetto. I don't know if anybody's ever seen him. I think he's from New York and Jersey. And he's one of our absolute favorite comedians. He's so funny. He's on YouTube. Yeah, Vic DiBitetto.
Yeah.
And he does different characters, and it's a very New York, New Jersey style of humor.
He sort of talks about things that sort of
really
kind
every
of
day.
view of the craziness of this world, and you can relate to it, and you can relate to everything he talks about. The madness of
I've
so
definitely,
many things.
I've
He's worth looking up.
Yeah,
I don't recognise the name, but that doesn't mean I've not seen him because, as I said, short-term memory. Okay. That's why I have to watch things over and over again. Well, that's my excuse. I just tell my wife it's no dementia. It's just I need to watch things over and over again.
I always tell people with Vic to watch his attic video because that's my personal favorite one. That is so funny, where he goes on a rant about all the stuff his wife has bought and then not used and stuck up in the attic.
I think I've actually seen it. I recognise that situation because I was laughing because I slag my wife about that all the time as well. And then she looks in my room and goes, "Really?
Really?"
Because she says, "Mine's might still be up in the room, still with labels on it and stuff like that. I'll eventually use it. How many of your stuff is opened?" Can't see a thing. Can't see a thing because a lot of my stuff, they're there for me to look at, not to play with. Although I have got a lot of things opened because I do Stephen Moffat and play with them on my desk.
Yeah.
Spaceball. Hey, Spaceball.
Yes.
That's what it is. It's Dark Helmet playing with these toys on the desk.
Yeah.
Hey, you gotta love action figures. I'm a big kid and I'll always be a big kid. Things like that.
Definitely.
I would have to get 2 sets because I'd want one to take out of the box and just have on my desk, and then I'd have to have one tidy.
Well, I've got a lot like that as well, but all the ones that are out of the box, after a while, I replace them with new ones and give my older ones to nephews, friends, kids, and stuff like that because it's the same again. I had my old Doctor Who DVDs, or my new Doctor Who DVDs, because I started collecting the DVD sets for the new season, and then I realised never really watched it again after the first episode it was on. So any of the DVDs, one of my wife's nephews came up and he was looking and he was saying, "Oh, did you watch this? Do you watch that?" I says, "How do you like it?" And he says, "I like Doctor Who." I says, "Well, there you go." Gave him all the DVD because might as well get as much enjoyment out of you as you can. And there's the DVDs if you want it. Don't need to buy them. So you got that, and you got some of the figures and stuff like that. And I thought, it's not my fandom anymore, so might as well give it to somebody who is. And rather than actually, and that's the way I look at it, is just because it's not my fandom doesn't mean that's bad. It just means it's not something I like. But then again, I look at my shelf and I realise how many times people say, "Do you watch that rubbish?" Yeah, because it's not rubbish to me.
We can all relate to that, I think,
Yes, I think that's what it is. Each of us have got classic in our blood.
Yeah.
These young people nowadays just don't understand that.
Yeah, exactly.
No, and the nice thing is, we grew up on it, but we're so fortunate now to be able to get the box sets and get these sets so that we can really enjoy them and watch them. I mean, it's certain things, many things that we both like, that we rewatch, every few years we'll rewatch one thing or another. We're going through all the Twilight Zones, the original Twilight Zones now as well.
I've seen a few of them in the last 6 months. It's just wee bits, one here and there, because I don't have the full collection yet. So, see, what I do is when I get a DVD in, the first thing I do is rip it onto my computer. So I can sit with them on all the time rather than without changing. So I've got a habit of doing that. But I still I only rip the episodes off. I never rip the extras and all that off because when I'm watching the extras, I want to do it in the DVD and spend the time just sitting backwards and forwards. But I always rip, if it's a movie or a DVD, I rip it so I've got a soft copy so I could just flick it on a playlist. But if I ever want to do any proper watching, it's on my DVD on my big screen and I can just sit back with feet up watching it. But I do that and I don't have the original Twilight Zone, so I only see the occasional ones here and there.
Oh, it's worth getting. It's just great. Great
one of my favourites was the Burgess Meredith one, the librarian or the man in the library.
Yeah, we've seen that one.
It's just because somebody put a picture up and I'm sitting there thinking, That's the one is The Man with Time Now or something like that it was called. I can't remember. But it was basically, he was a wee weedy man and he always went into he always liked reading, he always liked on. And then he goes into the vault of the bank he works in and there's an explosion that kills everybody. He's the last man alive. And he comes across, he's about to kill himself and he realises he's at a library.
And he comes out there all day.
He's January, February, and March, all these books he could sit and read and enjoy. Then he breaks his glasses, and I thought,
yeah, that's classic Twilight Zone.
Yeah, it's just that nice wee test. You sit there and go,
it gets right under your skin.
It does, because there's a happy ending. No,
no.
Even the William Shatner one.
He was in 2 actually that I'm aware of.
The one with the
airplane.
On the plane, the 20,000 feet or something like that.
Yeah, with the demon on the wing of the plane.
That's the one that I remember him from. And
he was in another one. Yeah, he was in another one where they're sat in a diner. And he starts taking tickets out of this fortune telling machine, and he gets absolutely addicted. And the ticket
things happen.
Yeah, I can't remember the whole.
I've got a vague recollection, but I just didn't know it was William Shatner. It's no one that stuck with me. But then again, it was a long time ago I saw it. I can honestly say it probably wasn't the original time I saw it because I'm not that old. But it's probably been the first time it was shown over here in the UK. I've probably seen it. So
yeah, I think Channel 4 showed a lot of them in the 80s.
Yeah, so I probably where I actually saw it
too. And then they sort of disappeared and came back.
Yeah. Because I've managed to get a hold of a few nice ones like the BBC one, Out of the Unknown. That's good. Oh. And that is very classic BBC sci-fi. Now, you can obviously, when it was made, there was things they didn't know. Whereas nowadays, everybody knows about certain aspects of space travel or whatever. And you think it's obviously shown it's that old that they thought this could happen or that could happen. But it's the classic sci-fi. It doesn't need to be scientifically accurate. It's just fun. And some of the effects in it, they were just quite nice. There was one with Hannah Gordon in it. And the aliens, or I think it was Mars. There was aliens on Mars, and the only difference you noticed was their teeth. But it was so subtle, nobody pointed it out, but you could see it because it was just like one tooth right across. So when they were talking, they always just had a wee bit over their teeth to make it look like one, and it was so subtle. It was actually amazing. You noticed it. It sort of jumped out at you once you noticed it, and you thought aliens, but they never mentioned it. It's just they mentioned about Martians or whatever. But just that wee subtle bit was just perfect enough to realise that they're aliens. They're not the same. But it's wee twists like that I thought was quite nice. And seeing actors who are going on to do bigger and better things in either their first role or bits and pieces. Like, for instance, you had the guy who played Arthur in EastEnders, Bill Teacher.
Mm-hmm.
He was in one of them. He was only a wee bit part player. And you had the one that played I used to know his name. He passed away in the 80s. He was an Indian character actor. He played Charwala in Hot Mum.
Oh, I love that.
You basically watched it, and he's just an extra in the background. And I recognise him because he became such a... For all the programs I used to watch, he was in them all. He was...
Yeah.
Eight and a Half Hot Mum, the one about the class, the school, and there's just so many things that I recognised him from, and I'm thinking that must have been one of his first roles, and he was just an extra in the background. But he's so recognisable. You're thinking there,
yeah.
And it's things like that, and I just love watching something that's classic and seeing someone who
I love those moments
in their wee bit roles, and I love that. And it's the same. You look at it with Red Dwarf. Craig Charles beforehand, he was a poet. Was it a street poet or whatever? I can't remember what they classed him as. But in Red Dwarf,
Was he
notice
doing stand-up,
he,
and...
he was doing stand-up poetry.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And in certain aspects of this season, it stands out. Like when he's given the speech in Better Than Life, I think it is. No, it wasn't Better Than Life. It's Stacey Sleek later on. Stacey Sleek, when he's talking about the who's married Kachansky. See that speech he gets about how he's probably this type of guy, but you can just hear his cadence of his poetry. And that's the parts that I remember from Craig Jarrell prior to Red Dwarf. And it's just watching all those, was it Saturday Night Live or whatever?
Yeah.
He used to be on, and I sit and smile when I hear his cadence of his poetry coming in.
Yes.
And
he said something like, "Why is it always wine?" And it's just the emphasis.
Yes, it's the way. It's why it's always wine instead of
that's it.
It's the cadence of it, and that's to me the type of poetry he used to do, and you can still hear it in when he's doing a bit of a monologue. And I basically loved it because I remember seeing Craig Jarrell prior to that on that, so that's where I recognised them from. And then when you hear it, it still reminds you of before he was as famous as he got through Red Dwarf. And I do think things like that actually make it stands out. Same as Danny John-Jules.
Yes.
I remember seeing Danny John-Jules. It was after the fact. It's only when I was watching it again I realised Danny John-Jules was in Little Shop of Horrors.
Never
noticed it the first time. There's only a bit. There's a group of 4 guys dancing as Seymour is walking down the street, and there's 4 guys dancing outside the flower shop. Danny John-Jules is on the end of it. He's one of the 4 guys that's dancing. But after I'd watched it and I realised who it was, you never miss it. Little Shop of Horrors, you'll notice there's 4 guys dancing outside on the street, outside the flower shop, and Danny John-Jules is standing there. He's one of the 4 dancers. But he was a dancer. So, and that's why he's so good at the cat, the movement, because he was so fluid and just.
You can see that. Yeah, you can really see in his movements that he's got training behind him, and you can
tell the difference in one of the later episodes that he's the only one that's got that.
I forget which story it's from, but he was going through the dream recorder, and it was like that whole dance
universe. It's the very last episode. It's how it starts. Parallel universe. Tongue-tied.
I get tongue-tied.
It's the fact that you look at the 3 of them dancing, you can tell who the guy with the rhythm and the perfect dance. Craig Jarrell and Chris Barry.
They were just goofing in the background.
You can sort of see the jerky moves. They're obviously not as comfortable as Danny doing the dancing, and it's just funny watching the comparison of the 3 of them. And it's did you notice the link between Krieg and Parallel Universe?
What was that then?
Do you know who the choreographer for Tongue Tied was?
No.
It was Craig Jarrell's Agnes. I've not got my glasses on. I'm getting too old. I can't see my screen.
I know the feeling.
Aye, so Jarrell's Agins, Augins. He basically speak, but I noticed that I was just sitting there thinking, I think his name. It says choreographer, Jarrell, and I thought, and he's the choreographer for that dance routine.
Yeah,
and I must admit, the very first time I ever saw it, I thought I recognise the name, but I thought I can't remember any choreographers. The only ones I remember were from Fame, the TV show, the American TV show.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking, why would I remember those choreographers' names? Apart from Irene Cara, she was the choreographer on it, and she played
quite well known. Yeah,
she played one of the dancers in it, but she later on did some of the choreography in it. And the only reason is because I used to like it a long time ago when I was pretending that I didn't, because it's a manly. But I used to watch Fame and stuff like that. But that's the only name I remember as a choreographer. I'm sitting there thinking, why would I know that name? And it was only when I was rewatching it again, I thought, that's where I know the name from. So he is the choreographer.
Good spot.
Yeah, you look at the Creed character. He just plays that so well.
He does, yeah. That was a great story because seeing it for the first time, I didn't realize what was going on. I don't know if anybody else picked up on the fact that he was just completely playing them the whole time.
Yeah, I remembered when we were watching it last week, but I didn't say anything. I'll just sort of wait for it.
I had no idea. Yeah, that was great. That was really good.
Yeah, but I think it's the same again. It's just trying to find a point within this season that you could say that's the best part. There's so many of it, don't you think? There's just so many lines.
Yeah. I have a feeling season 2 is going to end up being my favorite. I might change my mind as we go forward, but I really loved this season.
Yeah, I think it's going to be difficult to actually find one. Talking about this season, what episode did you like the best out of them all?
Out of season 2, let me have a think. Let's have a look. Probably Kryten. I think Kryten because it just had so many funny lines in it.
See, I can understand that, but believe it or not, I think mine's was actually Creek, and I think it was because of just the jape of the century and April, May, June, July, and August. I think Krieg stood out because of the complete opposite between Krieg and Holly, and I think that Charles played Krieg so well, and you're sitting there thinking, and he's meant to be Holly. It's just the silly things, the wee one-liners like, "Look, it's down to my hands. Why don't you wear a marigold?" He said, "Yellow with blue. Are you crazy?" And you silly things like that. And I think it's just the juxtaposition between how bad it is under Krieg and it was actually Holly all the time.
Yeah, and he was getting them back for just not backing him up and not, and just taking.
That's why that episode was one of my favourite of it. What about you, Sam?
Yeah, they didn't know when they had it good.
Yeah. What would you have said is your favourite episode of this season?
Definitely that one, and I think I quite like Stasis Lake as well because that
had Mark Williams as Peterson.
Yes, that's right. Mark Williams' appearance. It's funny because when I first watched it, when you see it now, you think, "Oh, that's them." It's funny how you sort of changes the way you see it.
Yeah, it's the same idea. See, the very first time I saw them, the first episode. And you had Mark Williams as Peterson. I'm sitting there thinking, that's Father Brown. That's Gory's dad. And he's out of the Strangerers. That's a weird one. But then you've also got the one that played, was it Chen? He used to be in EastEnders. He used to play, was it Barry, Nigel in EastEnders?
Did he?
The one with the curly hair.
Oh.
Because there was 3 of them, but the other one, I've not seen him in anything else. So you had Chen, Peterson, and what was the third? Come on, chat. Who's the third? There was Chen, Peterson, and who? Can't remember off the top of my head. You got season 1 up in MDB?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, Chen, Peterson, and the other one. But the one played Chen was played in EastEnders because my mum used to watch it, so I saw him in it, and I'm sitting there thinking, he was in EastEnders, but in effect it was that EastEnders character. Was it EastEnders or Cornish? No, it was EastEnders definitely. He played Nigel, and that's the only thing I remember about him. And it was after he was obviously appeared in Red Dwarf, he got the gig on that.
Was this in Stasis League?
No. You only saw Peterson and Stasis Lake, but in episode 1 of season 1, the 3 of them are there.
Okay.
It was Chen, Peterson, and it was Neil Hollister. Hollister's the captain, but he was in this Stasis Lake as well as the chicken. And
oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Lister thinks he's a complete like a mushroom.
Yeah,
He thinks he's hallucinating.
He completely screws himself.
Especially after the head pops back through again.
My favorite.
I enjoyed that story because it's played with time travel, and
Yeah,
Rimmer pops up through the table and sort of Lister gets to see his possible future. He gets
and the cat gets one of the best lines in the whole episode. The cat gets one of the best lines again.
Yeah,
like when they come back through with the soap.
Yeah,
and he says, "Who are you going to bring back?" He said, "Me." Rimmer said, "Me." He says, "Let's chance it."
Yeah. My favorite cat moment in Stasis Leak is when they walk through the time barrier door and they wind up in the shower room
with the
guy. But there's one scene where both Lister and Rimmer are on either side of Cat, and Cat keeps turning to them going, "What is it?" And then they give him this big long description, and then he turns to the other one, "What is it?" And he keeps going back and forth, and then Lister finally says, "It's a magic jaw."
He says, "Oh, why didn't you say so?" But the one that I liked as well was when he comes through and the guy's having a shower, and he looks down and goes, "They say personality, it matters," and walks away.
He could get the best expressions on his face, Danny John-Jules. He was such a good physical actor. He was so funny.
Yeah. When he met Dog in Parallel Universe, his face was just cracked us up, didn't it?
He just completely freezes, and you could just see it on his face. He's like, "Okay, this is different."
You know what? I'll smell your buttocks and you smell mine. How does that sound?
He's like, they could smell you on Mars.
It was even that the one that played Dog. It was just.
Yeah. He was.
It was just even things like that. The Dog wasn't my favourite character, I must admit. But
no, I thought they could have done that better.
He would do the bits that you would just every so often do the wee scratch, because I've got my dogs and I see them every so often. They'll just sit there and just go.
Yeah,
he's obviously thought it through. They've obviously said, "Act like a dog," and he's obviously just watched dogs and just started doing the wee silly bits. The dancing didn't work because obviously, and then Danny John-Jules actually takes it out. And, it's not going to work.
No, I thought the dog character was a little bit underwhelming, but Danny John-Jules just saves every scene, there, and it was funny. The dog had some funny moments as well, but it was.
Anybody got a grenade? I want to play fetch with a dog.
Yeah. They're all really good stories in this season. Really funny.
Thank you. Selby is the third guy.
There you go.
Selby. That's the one. Because it's Chen, Selby, and Hollis and Peterson as the three sits at the table with them. Remember, in the first episode, they're going, "I slept with Kachansky. I can name 20 people that slept with Kachansky," and it's just the three of them. As Peterson's giving it with a coin. The other two is Selby and Chen, and I think the one that played Chen was the one that played Nigel, and it's that type of thing. I noticed silly things of programs that I don't really watch, but my mum used to watch it, or my sisters used to watch it when I was growing up.
Yeah,
I noticed them, and although I was probably in my 20s, I still probably sat and watched it. Honest, it was to me. I left the house and I couldn't blame my mum anymore, but I was still watching things. You grow up with them, it's tradition. Stick with that.
That's it.
But the Stasis Leak as well. No Stasis Leak. Parallel Universe.
Yes, that was a good one.
Your opposites as well.
Yeah.
The Deb and Arlene. I must admit, I loved Arlene. She's so Rimmer that she out Rimmer.
Rimmer's Rimmer. Yeah. They were both good. They were both perfectly sort of captured the characters.
I think Rimmer, who is it? It's Angela Bruce. She played Barbara in Doctor Who.
Really?
That's right. She did.
She in Battleground.
That's right.
It's one of my favourite Sylvester McCoy stories. That one. So, but
Yeah.
she played Barbara in the Brigadier Barbara with Nicholas Courtney as the Brigadier coming back. But that's a side note. But she was really good because I think she must have sat and watched Craig Charles because she looked so natural doing stuff
Yeah.
Yep.
with Craig. It's almost like he was acting to a mirror.
It was really believable. It was really good.
Yeah.
You know, every scene that they had together, it was just hilarious. And their hair was the same, everything. And they were, the scene where they were drinking at the table, and then they're putting the sort of beer glass on the head after.
And then it just looked so natural.
Yeah. And then Rimmer throws the beer over his shoulder at one time and thinks that he's got her, and then she spits it in his face.
You could just imagine that the other way around. But it's the funny thing is that she's disgusting. She does this, but so do you. Aye, but I do it with class.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks what they do is classy when everybody else is sitting there going, she's just so well played that part. I thought I'd have liked to have seen it later on, a few years down the line, revisiting to see a Kryten, a female Kryten, and see how they got on.
That would have been hilarious.
That so well with the same characters.
Yeah, that would have been a great opportunity.
I think it would have been a great episode if they'd actually revisited it.
Who would be good playing a female Kryten? I wonder who pops to mind.
The only one I unfortunately can pop to mind was Camille.
Oh God!
And that's only because she played a Kryten character. And was that not Robert Llewellyn's partner?
Really?
I remember there was an interview. He was saying that his partner, she's an actress, and he used to always moan about the makeup and stuff like that. And then there was the opportunity to have somebody do the Camille character, and he put her forward. You could actually see what he has to go through, and he says he handled it better. She did it without moaning and complaining, and he sort of felt,
oh, wait a minute now,
because now she had, but he thought put her forward, and I'm sure it was Robert said it was his partner that did it, and that I thought that's the only one that could ever put me in maybe because I've seen her do it. But then again, until somebody else does it, we don't know. But that's the only one that I had any reference for. But that's just me, because that stuck in my mind because they have had a female Kryten. But at least they fell pregnant.
Yeah. That episode surprised me how they ended that one, because they were building it up, and they're watching the test, to see what color it turns, and it's building up, and Lister's going crazy. He's like, come on, tell me what it is. And it turns out that he is pregnant. I thought it was going to be the opposite. I thought they were going to say, they were going to wind him up and then tell him it was, but he wasn't actually. And obviously
I'm going to be an uncle.
Yeah.
But I think they had to, but I think this is where the trend of in between seasons having to fix things. You look at things like when later on when they meet their future selves, better dead than Smeg, and then they start it up with having to explain it. It's the same as between season 2 and 3 where Kryten comes in. They don't explain it. It's just Kryten's there. It's that type of thing. They change it, whereas some people say, well, they ignore canon. It's not. It's just they don't see it as a major stumbling block. So he's pregnant, and then you hear somewhere somebody said that it only counted, what they did was once he had the babies, they sent them to the parallel universe to be brought up there until they matured, which didn't make sense because they're women, it's
weird,
society, so it would be the guys that have brought them up. It made no sense with whatever story got leaked in why the babies didn't turn up. And
well, I mean, they could have wrapped it up right then and there with that episode by not having him pregnant, and still had some great gags, I think. But
I think what they did was they harked back to the what was it called? Season 1, where it was going to the light barrier. That he was getting told he was going to fall pregnant, and I'm going to enjoy finding out how.
Future echoes.
Future echoes. So they basically used that. At least they and I thought that's what they did very well for the first few seasons. There would be something they mentioned season 1 that they would have a slight continuation of, but you didn't need to know they had mentioned it in season 1 for it still to be funny. But it was a wee Easter egg that if you had watched earlier seasons or episodes, you caught it. And they do that throughout 3 and 4 and 5. I think they hark back to things that happened that you don't need to know about because it doesn't take the joke away. But if you do know about, that's a nice wee bounce back. Like, for instance, the most recent episode, Promised Land, harks back to the arc from when the cat was first, god, I can never remember the name.
I know.
The one with the priest, the cat priest, in it, which, so they hark back to that. So from season 1 to season 13, they brought that in because the cat priest tells you what happened to the rest of the cats. And then obviously season 13 brings it all full circle. But so they hark back to season 1 from season 13. But I like it when they do that. Not that the fact is they have to suddenly, here's a recap of what happened so you know where you are. They don't. They just go into it. And if you don't know, if you've not watched the previous episode, it makes no difference because it's still funny. But if you have seen it, there's a wee bit of a extra smile there because you recognise that they've referred back to something in the past. And I like that aspect of certain programs. And
yes, definitely.
Well, it really shows a dedication to the show and to the people watching the show and the fans. You know, it's like those little Easter eggs are there, you know, for you to enjoy.
Yeah, waiting for God.
Yeah,
I know the chat's just got it. They're nailing it. They're basically getting everything. Anytime we ask something or mention something we can't remember, or I can't remember, the chat pops in with it. So thank you guys.
Yeah, I can see. What's that?
And that says they're making an old man very happy. Or is it making a happy man very old? One of the two. Honest, this isn't painted on. This is real. I'll put it as distinguished.
Yes.
Like fine wine.
Yes. Go off if I'm left uncorked.
Yeah.
But I'm saying.
I think
I'm a good boy. I'll just stick to my Iron Brew.
Yeah, good old Iron Brew.
Yes, I do love my Iron Brew. I've been drinking Iron Brew since as far as I can remember, since I was a kid. I'm that old that I can remember the glass bottles.
If they ever do a time capsule, there needs to be some Iron Brew in it.
Yeah, me too, Iron Brew and everything, especially alcohol. That I drink. The only time I ever drink alcohol with Iron Brew is when I drink a Gold Watch. It's basically whiskey and Iron Brew.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
But I do like that, but it has to be a particular whiskey. I can't drink things like Grant, which are very grainy whiskies. It has to be a smoother whiskey for me to enjoy a Gold Watch. And I used to hate whiskey, but when somebody gave me a drink of whiskey and Iron Brew, I loved it.
Yeah,
sounds an interesting combination. Must have to. I'll try that.
It has to be a smooth whiskey. So things like Grant, which are very grainy. It's now you get whiskies that are smooth and some that are grainy and a bit more of a punch to them. You have to have the smoother type because it mixes better. In my opinion, not that I know any better about the amount of alcohol I've drank in the last 50 years. Although I would say 40 years because I didn't start drinking until I was about 15.
Yeah.
I can say that now. My mum wouldn't believe me. But I can't even know. I was going to say something I can't even remember.
And then I know that feeling so well.
It's just basically when I talk about alcohol, it slips and disappears.
Yeah, everything flatlines. I'm just reading through the chat, and Sadako is saying, I think they were going to do a Cat People episode in Series 7, different plot to Promised Land, but it didn't happen.
That's a shame. That would have actually been good. So it would have been. I wonder how they would have gone down that route, what it would have been about.
Yeah. It says, I fear they blew too much budget on the reality TV set pieces.
That's easy to do the cat story, which is a shame. I think the cat story would have been really good.
Yeah.
But at least they got back to it later on. It might be the last one we're getting, so it was a good way to end it. I'm hoping it's not because they said they want to actually continue. But are they going to because of the legal wrangles with it? Fingers crossed they do.
Oh, I hope so.
I definitely hope so because it's stories that can go on.
Yeah.
And on and on, which I'm happy with. I'm happy with. I'll just keep my channel doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The cast are willing to do it, so.
Yep. So we did mention it. What did you think of Tongue Tied, the song and the dance routine?
I loved it.
It was just so out there because there's no reason for it to be there.
Yeah.
So they put the Dream Machine just so they could actually put it in.
Yes.
And I thought,
yeah.
Because that's the type of thing it would normally show up in season 5 or 6 because they've ran it 5 years and they want to do something a wee bit different. But at the end of season 2, come on, and they still had, that was only just a wee teeny segment. They had that dance and singing and dance routine, and I thought, wow, they're so confident that they're actually doing something so weird for a sci-fi show that they actually incorporated it in the Dream Machine. And I thought, yes, and it's just it's the lyrics are funny. Watching the guys dancing
is funny.
Chris and Grace dancing was just hilariously funny. Just see the sort of they just didn't have the smoothness of Danny, and it's.
But the thing is, I think that's what Danny just really makes it come alive because you find yourself tapping your feet to it. You know, it's just so catchy, and it
shows he's a good singer as well.
Yeah. But I think, as you say, it's like they took a little bit of a risk maybe with throwing something like that in, but it was almost like, not exactly, but it kind of reminded me of shows like The Young Ones where they would throw in these oddball moments into it, just totally sideways things would just pop up.
Aye, basically GBH, the hamster.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Oh, we need to do it. Somebody needs to do a live a chat about The Young Ones. That would be awesome.
Oh, there you go. That could be the next.
That's
TV
a good
show.
idea.
That's what I'm going to talk. I know what we're going to cover on Saturday Sunday with Daniel. Faulty Towers.
Oh,
another
classic.
So I've got to watch Faulty Towers between now and Sunday.
Now,
which is easy because I watched it about 3 weeks ago. So.
We watch Faulty Towers every chance we get. Really, if it's on, we'll watch it.
I bought the DVD box set just because I want physical media for everything.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
So, and that's although I still watch a lot on my computer. Hence the reason why as soon as I get something decent, I'll rip it to my computer. I don't care if I spend 2 days ripping a box set to DVD from a DVD to, because I want physical media because I don't want people changing the story I've watched and enjoyed.
Well, that's what seems to be the trend now. Is everybody's definitely going for the physical media because the woke apocalypse is sort of not showing any signs of slowing down at the moment.
Yeah, and the way I look at it is, I'm old enough to actually realise that those don't really matter anymore. Things have changed. That's why I love Red Dwarf, because you got a show that nobody can touch, for the simple fact is it's funny, it's character driven, and the cast are basically the cast. They didn't hire them because of this, they didn't hire them because of that. They just took the best guys for the role. Like Craig Charles, he was asked by Grant and Naylor, I can't remember what one, is the cat character racist? Because he was trying to put him like a cat, but the way he was writing the cat, he thought it looked a bit racist. So he asked Craig, is the cat character racist? And Craig says, no, but who have you got for Lister? Can I read for it? Because he liked he read it and he thought, excellent. But at least when they were thinking about it, even at the time, they were thinking, I'm writing that as a cat, but will it come across as racist? And Craig said, no, but can I get that other part? Because that is really good as well. And he says, well, read for it. And he read for it and he realised, what, I've never known you as an actor. I've only ever seen you doing your poetry. But you nailed it. And they gave him the part because he was the best person for the job.
Yep.
And the cat didn't portray it as anything other than a cat. You look at a simple scene, the Queeg scene, where Queeg gets them working, right? You imagine now, even though Queeg was a black guy, Cat and Lister are black, and they were the ones cleaning the floor. Can you imagine what nowadays would say to that? Even though the three characters involved are coloured. To me, I didn't see that. I just saw them getting told to do stuff.
Exactly.
And they basically didn't like it. And it wasn't because they're getting put upon, they're getting made to work. Because one's a slob and doesn't want to work, and the other one is a cat and doesn't want to work.
They don't.
That's the way I saw it growing up. That's the way anybody. And the fact is, you can imagine that nowadays. Or you can't have this character, you have to have that character. No, you get the best characters. Red Dwarf, they've never done a joke about colour, sex, or anything like that. Well, they do sex jokes because it's 4 guys.
But that's the beauty of it. It's like you don't, when I watch that, I don't even think about anything like that. I just think it's hilariously funny.
And that's it.
I'm not like thinking to myself, oh my God, that's this or that. It's like, it's a bloody funny show.
You look at the parallel universe one. It's a perfect example. Are you one of those masculinists that burns your jockstrap? I thought that was hilariously funny because I remember the jokes growing up about all these women burning their bras. And it basically, you just see how silly the comment is because...
But that was the whole point. It was sending all that up.
Exactly. Yeah. Or you're not one of these masculinists, not like naked. Here, I'll show you a picture of 2 of them. Exactly. And you're sitting there thinking, it's funny because it's funny. Yes, they're taking a snipe at, I suppose, me, because I'm an older guy and I grew up in a standard way, and with my mum and dad, my dad working, my mum looking after us. But as my mum used to say, why do I want to work? I'm not giving up power to anybody. Because she was in charge in the house, but if she went to work, somebody would tell her what to do. So why should she get somebody else to tell her what to do when she's in charge in the house? Yeah. And so I grew up with that. I grew up, my mum, the most important people in my life were female. My mum, my gran, my 3 sisters, my 3 older sisters that used to bully me, and one of them still does. My other 2 sisters have passed, but my oldest sister still bullies me. I'm okay with that because that's me. That's life. Life, believe it or not, is your older siblings will always do that to you no matter what. Yeah. Doesn't matter if they're male or female, you're male or female, it makes no difference. Yeah. Families are families. So I grew up and to me, I could have taken it, well, that's terrible, they're having a dig at me. No, that is bloody funny. Because, they might be having a dig at me, but I don't get offended. I just find it funny. And that's the thing. Humour is humour. Doesn't matter what it's about if they deliver it in such a perfectly funny way, which the guys do every single time. And they don't make you feel as if you have to judge what that comedy is saying. They're just funny. You don't have to think about it. And I never grew up thinking, oh, they two guys are white and they two guys are black. I never thought about that once in my whole life. Never once. No. Because it's Red Dwarf, the greatest comedy sci-fi show ever. Yeah. And I grew up with watching Lost in Space and all this. But no, I watched Alf, which is technically a comedy sci-fi. No, nothing has ever touched the genre of comedy sci-fi like Red Dwarf.
Yeah, I agree.
I grew up watching it, and I didn't have to think about anything because it was four guys stuck together.
Yeah, that's why it worked. It was funny. It was from a time when things were meant to be laughed at and not picked over.
And that's what it is.
All the nonsense that goes on now.
I know. And it just goes to show you've got such a funny comedy, which could do things that nowadays people would go, you can't have them doing that. And it's but it's funny. It's not done because of this or because of that. It's done for the humour of it. It would have just been as funny if Lister and Rimmer were the two doing it. It would have just been as funny as if Kryten was in it, Kryten and Rimmer were doing it. Because of Queen, it would just be funny because it's the situation, and it's If people actually sitting there looking at it thinking, "Oh, that's terrible," because sorry, you missed the joke.
Exactly.
Move along.
Exactly. It's I think there's a layer that seems to be getting missed by just the ones that are sort of watching things to find things to be upset about, as opposed to, at that time when these kind of things were made, if you couldn't laugh at yourself, you were just a really not a very nice person to be around. You have to be able to sort of take a bit of a joke and have a laugh. And I think that's why I love the Lister character so much, because he just rips them, Rimmer apart all the time, but they do have a camaraderie. They do have a friendship, and they should be able to do that with each other without.
And you look at the first one, the Kryten one. The two of them are slagging each other.
Oh.
They're friends, but they're bunkmates, and the two of them dislike each other. Although you can see their relationship is getting better, but in effect, they still slag each other, and not one of them, two of them, take offence because
it's just a mate. Yeah,
that's what you do. Yeah. You have a laugh and a joke, and like for instance, when he said in the first season, he says that time we laughed together. He says when you tied my pigtails down and I sat and set the fire alarm off, I nearly ripped my head off. He says, we had a laugh. He says, you had a laugh, but I ended up with this. And it's a case of, it was funny because you can just imagine those two friends doing stupid things like that with each other.
Yeah.
Thinking it's like, I suppose it's like the Jackass TV type of humour.
Yeah. I made a comparison with Dad's Army, because you had a group of characters there who bickered and argued with each other, didn't always seem to get on, but when the chips were down, when there was a crisis on and a problem, they came together, they were a team. Yeah. And the Red Dwarf crew were like that, they rip each other apart.
They did an update to something like that.
When there's a crisis, they're all there.
Mm-hmm. They did an update to that. See, Dad's Army, they didn't do an update to Dad's Army, but the situation. Did you ever see Generation Kill?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
That is set as a reconnaissance unit in the first Gulf War, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a group of Americans. You've got the white supremacists and the colour guy. Two of them are constantly each other. See, when the fight starts, they're back to back. They've got each other's back because the two of them, even though They've got their different beliefs. They don't see each other like that. They see each other as comrades who dislike each other. But if there's a fight, I'll hold your back, you hold my back.
Yeah.
And it's that, because although they were meant to be a radical left and a radical right wing, they weren't really, but they were almost like they would have a go at each other. But you could still hear the humour in it when they were slagging each other.
Yeah.
But the fact is, it sounded terrible. However, when anything happened, you could see the two of them standing back to back, watching each other's back. They didn't think, oh, well, I'm not watching his back because he's coloured. I'm not watching his back because he's a supremacist. The two of them were come together because they were comrades and they knew each other would hold each other, protect each other's back, no matter what. Because they didn't need to agree on anything. They just had to actually know they could trust each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought Generation Kill was good for that, because it showed you two people who would argue about politics and whatever, and one was called a whiskey tango and the other one was, they would basically use, they didn't really go down using really harsh language, but they did slag each other about colour and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They didn't actually hate each other. They just did it because it was something in the story and it showed you to them, even though they had these disagreements, they would still back each other up. But it's the same idea as a lot of these good programmes. Dad's Army, as you said, it was seeing people from different walks of life coming together.
Yeah.
No matter what they thought of Manning, no wonder what they thought of Manning, they still backed him because he was there. He was part of their troop.
Yeah.
And I think that's Red Dwarf, is they come together. No matter how much they bicker, no matter how much they slag each other, no matter how much behind each other's back they go.
Yep.
And stuff like that. They still are there for each other.
And I think that's what they instill in the fandom for Red Dwarf. Oh. That's why there's such an incredibly loyal following for Red Dwarf, because you feel like a part of their family.
Mm-hmm. And you think about it, you look at some fandoms. Doctor Who, for instance. You say, what Doctor do you like? Somebody says, I like Tom Baker. You get a lot of people going, I really like, but I prefer this. But if you say one of the ones that are unpopular, like Colin Baker or whatever, you get people going, oh, that's really crap. You can't have any taste. And it might not. The thing is, with Red Dwarf, no matter what character you say, everybody gets together, even if they like different characters. It's because you could say, well, I like the original Kryten, and other ones are saying, I like the new Kryten. They'll still agree that they like Kryten. Doesn't matter what variation, even if they don't like one person's portrayal of it. It's the fact is, you like Kryten, you're a dwarfer.
Yeah, exactly. There's a sort of camaraderie there and an affinity, that people feel with each other then, because you're sort of in that little, you get it. You get how great this show is. Yeah.
You even look at it like you've got Doctor Who. You've got me. I'm a classic Who fan.
Oh, yeah.
You've got other people who don't like the classic, so they're new Who fans. So because they don't say, I'm a Doctor Who fan, they classify it. Even me, I know I classify it. Then you're automatically saying split. You imagine somebody turning around and saying the Red Dwarf, it's been going for 30 odd years. Somebody says, well, I only like it before the big break. So say the first, how many seasons? 5, 6 seasons, right? And then you get another one, oh, I only like the new stuff. Mm-hmm. The difference is they don't say I'm a classic dwarfer or I'm a new dwarfer. They say I'm a dwarfer.
Yeah.
And their thing about getting together is boys from the dwarf. Doesn't matter if you're male, female, you're boys from the dwarf. Because it's dwarf. Even when even the people who dress up as Kachansky, I know a lot of people who didn't like Chloe Annette. I love Claire Grogan. I did like Altered Images, Happy Birthday, and all her songs. I liked that before she was actually in. I do remember them because I liked them before she was actually on Red Dwarf. So when she was on Red Dwarf, I was over the moon. But see, when they brought the new Kachansky in, I didn't think, oh, they've replaced her. Because she came from an alternate dimension. I'm okay with that because she's not the original Kachansky, she's just a Kachansky. because we've already seen a Lister and a Rimmer in the past.
Yeah.
So I didn't say they're not Rimmer and they're not Lister. They're just a different Rimmer and Lister. Didn't say they were different or they're not them. They're just a different variation. So I saw the Kochanski, Chloe and ex-Kochanski as another Kochanski, not a new one or an old one. It's just another one. And I understood why they brought her in, and I also understood why they dropped her without even any ceremony. They brought her in because they wanted to sell it to the States for a movie. In the typical States, they wanted to have a female cast member in for some reason. But because they realised it didn't, and they realised that the Kochanski character wasn't as popular, they dropped her. But it's not a case of she wasn't unpopular. She just wasn't as popular.
Yeah.
It's the same as when they brought Norman Lovett back. Some people still didn't like the fact that Norman left, but as soon as he popped up, hello, dudes. It's always back. And yet you had Hattie as Hilly. Nobody says, oh, that's no Holly. No, it's Hattie, it's Hilly. But it's not, it's a slightly different one. So you just look at it as the alternate reality one. You don't see it as too different. You just see it as a different version. And I think that's where Red Dwarf brings you together, because no matter what part of it you didn't like or did like, it brings us all together.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
It does. Yeah. And that's why we love these fandoms so much, because, and especially with Red Dwarf, as you say, it brings people together, and that's what it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just enjoying watching them again.
Yeah.
And just seeing how much it stands up, and it just, wow, this is a really great show.
I see, because I watch a lot of classic stuff, I understand when people say to me, do you still find that funny? Like, I've got Frankie Howard, Norman Wisdom, Abbott and Costello, Lauren Hardy. I like them all. People say to me, how can you watch Abbott and Costello? Because it's so dated. It's dated. I still find it funny, but just because I find it funny and I still find it dated doesn't mean that I expect people to understand the humour, because I grew up in it, so I understand it a bit better. But I can understand where people don't find it funny, because things date.
Abbott Costello.
Things date, and I understand that. So things that were hilariously funny and very popular suddenly don't. So slapstick used to be hilariously funny, and then it stopped, and it was more witty comedy. Then it stopped, and it became more this, and humour changes. So I can understand why people say, I don't like Abbott and Costello because it's too slapstick and slapping him around, or he's falling over, and Norman Wisdom because he's pratfalls. I can understand why they change, but you look at Red Dwarf, it still is funny. You can introduce somebody now to it and it doesn't date, because it's timeless humour.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree, definitely.
It's timeless humour, and there's certain comedians or comedies that are timeless. To me, Lauren Hardy's timeless because they didn't rely on this aspect of a comedy routine like the slapstick or the pratfalls or this. They had them, but they relied on it being smart, funny.
But they had kind of like a story to them as well.
Yes. But the fact is, that's, to me, they're timeless. Hence the reason why Red Dwarf, it's timeless. And I think that's why I enjoy it. And there's a man after my own heart. Retro.
Yeah, definitely.
Coming back to me because I'm more important at the moment. Ego boost. But it's to me, this humour in it brings people in. It just brings it all back, and it brings people together. And that's what good comedy should do. That's what good fandom should do. But if comedy, it's dark, whatever. I don't like nihilistic stuff, so I don't really like dark sci-fi. I like my sci-fi to be like, same as comics. I don't like a comic where it's all doom and gloom and people are, I want a comic where you know it's going to be a ta-da, happy ending.
Yeah.
That's me, but if somebody watches the other ones, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
But it's just, the fact is, they might like the same character, they just like the dark side of the character, whereas I like the light side.
Yeah, exactly.
I can still talk about the character or the characters.
I can remember that where we are today, where we're on YouTube and we're chatting things through, on a live stream. I can remember when I was going to the movies, in my 20s, you'd get together with friends after the movie and you'd go out for, a meal or a drink or something, and you'd spend the night just sitting around a table, hashing out the film and having a good old time talking about it.
You would discuss, and that's the thing. You come out of a movie and you're still talking about it and discussing it. It's a good movie. If you come out of a movie and just look at each other and go, rubbish.
Yeah.
What's that tell you?
That's what I definitely see, like in the fandoms, that has really stayed the test of time, and it's that love of talking about things and discussing things and debating, but not the sort of not where it seems to have gone now, where it's just all nastiness and personal attacks. It's like, back then we would have been like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
We're like just debating, chill out. So it baffles me. I can't get my head around it.
See, I find that less baffling. Just do you know why? Right, me and a couple of my friends, we went down to the Lake District. So a few Scots going down to the Lake District, and when we were playing pool, we were slagging each other, as you do in Scotland. And then somebody they didn't hear us talking, but somebody shouted something, and we went, "You're Scottish." He goes, "How do you know?" I says, "I recognise the saying." And then we started talking to each other. But they came up and played pool. So when we were playing, they were slagging us and we were slagging them.
Yeah.
And as we looked round, there was people disappearing from the bar.
They were worried.
And then the girl comes in and says, "Is there a problem?" I says, "No, how?" She says, "A lot of the clientele says there's going to be a fight in here." No, that's how we talk to each other. We might not know each other, but we're Scottish. We have that type of banter. But that's nothing new. Because I remember my dad telling us when he came back from national service a long time ago. So obviously, I think it was even before I was born. Mm-hmm. And he brought one of his friends from the English barracks. So he was posted down in England, and he brought one of his friends back with him. And they went up to the pub to drink with my grandfather. And he says, "There's this guy, 6'6", talking to my dad. 'Come on, Jock, we need to get out here.' And my dad's going, 'Why?' He says, 'Well, we need to get out. There's going to be a fight.' And he says, the first thing my dad and my granddad did was they went, 'Where?' He says, 'Over there, over there, and over there.' They're talking to each other. That's how they talk to each other. This is this guy, 6 foot odds.
Yeah.
Just joined the army, so he's been through his physical basic training and terrified of people in Scotland talking to each other because he thought they were about to all fight with each other. The same as people say my family's weird, because I've been sitting in a family party and somebody, my dad will turn, or you could watch my uncles, and my uncle's saying, "See you, I'm going to get you 2 pints, please." You're going for something, and people look at them as if they're about to start fighting each other, and then they'll stop, order a couple of drinks, go and get something to eat and come back and start again. And people go, "That's weird." No, that's Scotland. And so when people actually find it weird that you can't have a discussion about something, to me that's just natural, because obviously I grew up in an environment where everybody had an opinion. My family, big family, we could sit in the room and have 7 conversations across 20 of us at the top of our voices. But we split into other conversations because we get used to it. And I still do that. I know I do, because I've been told that I sort of interrupt people. It's because I grew up. It's just the way I grew up. Because if I kept quiet, I wouldn't have got a word in edgeways. But the thing is, fandoms should bring you together. And it doesn't mean you all have to agree.
No.
And that's the thing.
And that's what makes it interesting.
We all agree it's boring. You imagine we all agree and we all watch the one program, because there would only be one program on if we all liked the same thing and all agreed about everything.
Yeah, and that's what's great, because if there's space for people to debate and discuss things, you might get a completely different take on something, and you think to yourself, wow, I never really thought about it that way. Mm-hmm. And then you go away and you have a think about it and you think, yeah, okay, all right. I see where he's coming from. And it's great. It's very rewarding, to be able to, and I suppose, I don't know where I'm going, but I suppose it's rewarding to be able to enjoy other people's opinions, but it's that feeling of safety where you mm-hmm. can debate and you can bang the table and you can have some different views. But as you said, at the end of the day, you haven't made an enemy.
No, you've just talked to another enthusiastic fan.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you can both go away thinking, I wonder what he thinks, or I wonder what she thinks of this episode. I'll need to ask him next time I speak to her.
Yeah.
You don't think, I'm never talking to that person again, because, no, you think, I wonder what they think about this one, because I wonder if they've realised this. And it gives you something else to think about, because, as you said, people with different opinions on something makes you look at it in a different way.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people, I know how silly, but how many people would have thought something like the cat throwing the stick for golf makes me think, and it could have been a case of, have I sat and thought about it too much, or have I heard somebody mention it and that's where it's came from, and it's made me feel this way about it, or that type of thing. Because I've talked to different people about different things throughout my life, and yes, it could have been mentioned years ago when it first came out, and somebody says dogs would throw sticks, and it's obviously made me think about it, but I didn't get annoyed that I had to think about it a different way. It just makes you appreciate it slightly differently.
Exactly. I mean, I think the way the world is going today, especially now, that's another reason why it's been so traumatizing and so upsetting that there has been so much nastiness injected into certain, fandom discussions and things, because it's now more than ever, we need friendly discussion and debate and, being able to have a laugh and not take it too seriously, because the world is just so terribly serious right now. And there's just so much going on to Darren and I mean, humor to us is our sort of safety valve,
Mm-hmm.
So being able to have a laugh and watch a show that just doesn't take itself too seriously, it's just there to entertain you.
See, me and my wife have got completely different tastes in TV, but we still sit down and watch Death in Paradise. Both of us love that. Both of us love Danny John-Jules in it.
Yep.
But most of the other things my wife likes are soap operas, and she likes music, so she listens to a lot of albums and stuff like that, whereas I don't like music at all. So hence the reason why I'm in here most of the time and she locks the door behind me. But it's the fact is, we have got completely different tastes, but we've got enough things that we have got in common. Like a lot of my movies, especially my classic ones, we sit and watch them. White Christmas every year on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
The things like that. So I've got a load of movies that other people go, well, I wouldn't watch that. But me and my wife enjoy it. Yeah. Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, things like that. Calamity Jane.
I remember that.
It's just things like that. So people think, oh, well, you obviously don't like these type of music. Sorry, have you never seen my movie collection? You know what I mean? I've got Calamity Jane, I've got White Christmas. They're always on my watch list. I've got even West Side Story and stuff like that. I've got a load of things that people think, look at me. Just based on looking at me, they think, no, I'm not like that.
No.
Sorry, you don't know, man. You don't know this.
I think,
as my wife says, the type of crap I've got in my room.
I think we're all like that in a way. I think, there's always, that's the fun, again, of chatting to people, because you realize you're not the only one that has, a diverse set of interests and likes different things, and I think that's what makes, it makes all the discussions more interesting.
Yeah, and it does. But I remember I said to Daniel, and it was, as I've said earlier, is you imagine if we all agreed, you imagine if we all watched the same thing.
Yeah, boring.
What would there be talk about? There would be nothing. We would be sitting there going, did you enjoy it? Does it matter? It's all it's on. It's all we've got to watch.
Yeah.
We all understood the same story. We all liked the same thing. Where would be the conversation? Where would be the discussion? You have to have things that you might not agree on. It doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means you don't agree. Both of us could look at the same program and come to Christ Almighty, Captain Cockney Spock, and his Decker a replicant. I spoke to him about it.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, exactly. And I spoke to him, and it was the fact is, 40 years, next year is 40 years of that movie. And there's still discussion about is he or isn't he?
Yeah.
We've all seen the same movie, yet some people have come up with different opinions, even though it's only a is he or isn't he? There's other ones that are saying maybe he is, but he's an earlier, maybe he's this and that, or that kind of thing. So you've suddenly got, instead of just yes or no, is maybe this, maybe that, maybe this. So suddenly everybody's watching the same movie and there's 5 different theories for it.
Yep.
And to me, that's what a good program does. It keeps you talking.
Yeah, that's very true, yeah.
Uh-huh. And Retro Dicky, I'm a son of the desert, Call of the Cuckoo Tent. So I just thought I would mention that when he mentions Son of the Desert. But I think the way Red Dwarf went through the years, it kept people together. It kept everybody interested because you didn't know where it was going to go. It didn't become predictable.
Yeah.
And even the most predictable things slapped you in the head because you didn't know what was going to happen. You didn't know. Right, for instance, later on a Kryten story with the upgrade with the Kryten Mark 10 or whatever it was. You knew no matter what, Kryten was going to be there. It was how they got there. Made it the fun story. So you know they're not going to kill a character off or whatever, but it doesn't mean you can't have interest thinking how they're going to do it. It's not a case of we know they're not going to do it. It's a case of how are they going to do it and make it interesting. Because an interesting story, even if you know the outcome, it's not the destination. It's not the destination. It's the journey. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's
what makes it. And Red Dwarf, you know, at the end of the day, it was the 4 of them are always going to be there. Well, I know you know some of them are going to go in and out. Chris is going to leave for a while. Norman's going to leave for a while. But in effect, you knew for the first X amount of seasons, they're all going to be there. So any of the things that are coming in that are going to try and kill them, you know it's not going to harm. But it's how they get to the conclusion. You knew Horsemen of the Apocalypse, they were going to find the antidote. It was this journey to it. And it's always the same way. It's getting there is half the battle. And if it's interesting, it makes it fun.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
And I think Red Dwarf Season 2 is definitely going to be one of the funnier. I think it's definitely, well, so far, Season 2. So far, it's the funniest of both seasons. But I think Season 1 is slightly more interesting because it sets the groundwork and it did such a good job. But I still think Season 2 is one of the funnier seasons.
Yeah.
I have to admit this. Season 2 has really set my expectations up pretty high now. So I'm kind of like, I'm anxious to see the rest of them, but I'm also kind of like, oh, you know, I absolutely love Season 2.
Oh, and definitely there's certain aspects of it. I think it's got some of the best lines. And I think because those lines just reverberates throughout the years. Like, for instance, no matter how much you like Robert Llewellyn, give me a funnier line than, "Are you sure? I've only been gone 2 minutes."
Yeah.
That's true.
Give me a funnier line than that Kryten has said.
That's
you have
true.
to think about it. But in that one episode, that line just stands out because it's funny. It's just so unexpected. You knew something silly was going to happen, but you didn't expect such a good deadpan delivery. So funny. And
that whole scene was just like perfection.
Oh, definitely. Even the fact that they're all standing there and oblivious to the fact that they're dead, and then getting told, "Are you sure? Are you a doctor?" Even silly like that.
You're that sure they're dead? Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. It's no matter how much you love Kryten as a character, Robert Llewellyn's Kryten is superb, but I still can't think off the top of my head. I might come across ones and think, "Oh, that's as funny," but they don't stick the same way. Whereas it could be another line that's just as funny, but if you've got a really funny line in a show that's got hundreds of really funny lines, it doesn't stick out the same way as ones that are so brutally on point and funny that stands out. And that's, I think, the Kryten episode definitely launched one of the better, funnier seasons. And I think season 2 is just superb.
Yeah.
I must admit. And I'm looking forward to season 3.
Yes.
24
is
my guest next week, isn't he? Aren't you? You're still coming on. You've not put you have yet. But anywho. This thing's slipping. You can see it's actually tilting. I feel as if I should actually have chains and black lipstick.
That is absolutely.
And the rest of the stuff I'm wearing. That's why I'm sitting down.
Yeah, that is such a great cosplay. I love that.
Yes, I did. I basically, it took me a while to get the right things because although I've got these, I've got ones that are larger and more pronounced. These are my earlier ones. I keep my earlier ones, and then I've got the newer ones because I've got them all in front of me. So the difference between second technician and second technician.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting older, I had to get one that actually could read. So the smaller one got replaced with a larger one.
Yeah.
But I'm terrible. I've got, depends on what shirt I want to wear. I'm going to have different patches and everything. I know it just, what can I say?
That's brilliant.
But yes, I do like and it's the simple fact is, I'm not as cool as Kat. I would love to have dressed as Kat, but I'm just not that cool. And even Craig Jarrell's Lister, I'm not that cool either. This is probably nearest to my, no matter how I talk and think, I think when it comes down to it, this is me.
I need to do a Cat cosplay. I'm going to have to see if I can figure out how to make that happen, as I love Cat.
See, if I was ever get the inkling to do it, I would do the gold spacesuit.
Yes, I love how he jumps out with his hands on his hips, like ta-da!
I thought that was just such a spacesuit with cufflinks.
And he had the helmet bit made the helmet so it didn't mess up his hair. Yeah, I can totally relate to that.
He's a showstopper. He steals every scene he's in, and it's just, you just can't wait to see the next thing that Kat is going to do.
I know.
That is why I love the Kat character. Danny John-Jules is just amazing.
I know.
I've got two signatures to get. I've got Danny and Craig are the only two guys that have not come up to the UK.
That's.
I've got all the other ones, but that's the two I've still got to get. And I'm desperate for them, and I keep on meaning to go down south, but I've never got time at the weekend because although I like sitting and I feel as if I've got nothing to do, I can't spend a whole day travelling to somewhere just to get an autograph or see somebody.
I know.
It's normally it would have to be 2-3 days, and I've not got the time to do that. So if the Comic Cons start back up here, hopefully we'll get some decent guests.
That's going to be interesting to see what happens with those. Yeah.
And considering they were starting to die out because there was just so many, I think after the lockdown, if they manage to open them up and get them back to normal, I think there's going to be not as many Doctor Who guests, because a lot of the Comic Cons in the last few years had a lot of Doctor Who guests. I don't see them being as many because, as Sudoku said, it's become a nasty. There's certain aspects of it are nasty, and who would want to go and sit there to sign an autograph just to get abused? As an actor or an actress, I would say, if you think that's going to happen to you, why would you want to go and sit there?
No, exactly. And to be honest, we're done. When it comes to any sort of convention stuff now, where it's going to be, a lot of anything to do with the new series, and what was I going to say? You just said something then about the conventions. Oh, I know what it was.
If the conventions come back, how could people who don't know the type of reception they're going to get?
Yeah, what I was going to say is it actually opens the door for other shows to take a bit more of a center stage again, for other programs that have really sort of fallen in the shadow of Doctor Who and other things. Let's bring them back up to the surface again and enjoy them. It would be awesome to have a Red Dwarf con, or how fantastic would that be?
I'm dressing up as.
Yeah, I think we can figure that one out. Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna have to. I mean, I don't think anybody can do justice to Cat, because he's just far too cool for any human to even come close to. But that's definitely a good challenge.
I have to agree 100% in that one.
Yeah, I might try and take that challenge up. I'll have to see.
It's just I think that, and I do agree with that one. If the show was ever to end properly, it would have to go back to Earth properly. Do you think it would ever get to that point?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Because they sort of did, didn't they? I won't say too much for spoilers for when, but they did sort of play with that idea, didn't they, at one point?
Yeah.
But I won't say what happened, but I suppose maybe bring it to a conclusion.
Yeah,
I think
he would need to somehow go back in time and get his Kachansky.
Yes.
And basically sail off into the future, shall we say?
Yes.
But they would have to have a conclusion for everybody. So yes, they could go back to Earth, but how's that really going to affect the cat? Because the cat wants just maybe 9 or 10 wives to somebody to settle down with. I mean, so Earth wouldn't really work for the cat. And Rimmer is now Hardlight. How are they going to feel that he's a Hardlight hologram? Would they want to, if they could cure his death, would they want to be cured of death now he's Hardlight? So it would be a difficult one to end. And the Kryten would end up being reprogrammed and back to a service droid, even though he's so outdated. It would be a difficult one to tie up.
Yes, it would take some thinking about.
They would have to tie everyone's story, and it would be difficult to end it in a particular place that suits everyone. Unfortunately, I think it's too open-ended, which is good. Like, for instance, when Rimmer was leaving, not the holoship one, I'm glad he didn't leave in that one, but when he decided to leave because he became Ace, it gave him the opportunity to close that door on the Rimmer character if he didn't want to come back, although he did later on. But then later on, that if Danny had wanted to leave, they could have came across the Promised Land ship, and he's suddenly amongst his own, and he's seen as he's not seen as the son of the idiot and the cripple. You know what I mean? He does something to help them, and suddenly he's got what he wants, so he could have left that way. And it's the same as Kryten. Somehow, something they could have done it gradually throughout it, but I think they couldn't finish it in one episode where everybody has what they wanted. And I think that's the problem with it being so many different types of character.
Yeah.
That's a good point, because Kryten, he believed in Silicon Heaven, didn't he?
Yeah.
I can remember that was one of his character traits.
Yes, he believes in Silicon Heaven because that's how he was it. It was the Kryten Mark 10 or 12 or something like that. He beat because he believed in Silicon Heaven.
What was the line now? It was where do all the
calculators
go?
Where did all the calculators go?
That's it. Yeah. Where do all the calculators?
As I said, full of junk. I can't even remember what I'm doing tomorrow in work, but Red Dwarf.
Yeah. Lots of things like that.
Yeah.
That's why I went into IT, so I could do a to-do list to remind myself.
Our priorities straight. That's the important thing.
I don't think it'll ever properly end, because to end up back in Earth properly, it only suits one of the characters. Sort of. It doesn't even finish. So he would have to be back with Kachansky. That wouldn't help the Rimmer. It wouldn't help Holly. It wouldn't help Kryten, and it wouldn't help Kat, because getting back to Earth wouldn't just end the story, because there'd be too much open-ended. And even getting back to Earth at the end, it would have to be with very specific conditions. Like, I'm turning up 3 million years later, and as I said, 3 million years. Look what 3 million years has done to the domestic cat. So him turning up as a 3 million year old fossil.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
What would they be walking into? Have they done a Stargate and all ascended? And he's still the only last man alive, because the human race is not as they knew it. 3 million years is a long time.
That's great potential.
Yeah.
It'd be a 3 million year old fossil that looks fabulous, though.
Well, yeah. I'm saying, you think about it, going back to Earth, how would they actually answer some of the questions? Even just one or two of them. Like, what about Kachansky? Would she be there? So if he's there on Earth with Kachansky, who is also 3 million years old, what is Earth like? How are they going to be seen? How are they going to fit in?
I quite like the idea that reality is now that they are a team, that's their reality now. You know?
Yes. And I think that's the best way. So to me, if they had to end it, it would be a case of the ship just sailing on, because that leaves it open for books, audios, whatever, to tell the continuing stories. Because if the guys wanted to finish, they don't need to finish it on Earth. They could finish it just sailing off into the black, as they say in Firefly. Because there isn't an ending that would satisfy all four, but it's an ending that would leave it open for other mediums to explore.
Yes.
It's interesting, yeah.
Because you think about it, if the guys decide not to do any more, it's not going to stop everybody going, I want more. Yes, the guys are too old to actually do all the stunts and the red cable, yellow cable.
Yeah.
I still think that's one of Norman's best lines. Or is it the red one?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, but it's the aspects of no matter what, we're never going to be satisfied. You look at some shows that have ended, and they ended not with a bang, but with a whimper. Would you want that for Red Dwarf? I would rather it ended just sailing off into the blue or the black, and you don't know the end, but it leaves it open that somebody else could put other stories within it. You know what I mean? They could actually have it. They could literally write a book saying how, for some reason, something happened on the ship that de-aged everybody, and then they could bring in an episode back, tie it into the book, and have young people, like kids, play those roles for an episode, a TV movie, that type of thing. Because they can do de-aging as well, or just get other actors, and just because they've done it with Mark Hamill with some of the stuff, they're not so much de-aged them. They've got somebody else to do it. They've put the face over him, and then when he comes in, they've de-aged him to look like the animation part they've added on.
Yeah.
So they could, that's going to get more and more likely, because they're already talking about, Mark Hamill's already signed his image away. So if somebody does a computer-generated one that looks almost real, they don't need him.
Wow.
So you imagine them doing that for Red Dwarf, guys. So in a 10, 15 years, it could come back with those characters. But they could do audios in the meantime. Somehow they de-age so they can tie it in.
Yeah.
They can even tie it into a reboot, having something happen to the guys and do the normal transition between the old and the new. There's so many things they can do. I wouldn't like it to be rebooted, but I can understand how they can, because alternate dimensions. You've seen how many alternate dimensions Rimmer Listers have you seen? You've seen Deb and Arlene. You've also seen the ones, the Hollyhop, the ministerial ones and then you had the ones with the Rimmer and stuff like that and Lister. Yeah. So that's 4. And then how many aces have you met, which is multiple other ones? So they could actually sail off into the black and think there's another Red Dwarf pop up with the similar characters, but just played by different actors. But they could have a where the two of them meet and split off, so you can see the similarities between the two. But not that I'm wanting royalties. If you use that idea, just mention my name.
Yeah, they could go that way.
Yeah, I think they could, and it'd be sad to see it finishing, but I think how it finishes would be sadder if it's not done properly. Because if they did a Game of Thrones finish to it,
oh dear, yes.
Oh God!
Or Line of Duty, because that didn't go down well.
Oh, careful! No spoilers!
No, I say no more.
I've not watched it. My wife loved it. I've not watched it. It's new. I very rarely watch new stuff. I never watched Game of Thrones. I think I saw the first season or parts of the first season, and I just thought it didn't catch me. So, but then again, as I said, I like my sci-fi and fantasy lighter, too nihilistic for me.
Yeah. We've stopped watching a lot of new stuff as well, because we just don't trust it or have any confidence in it anymore. And we're happy with the archive stuff. We've got plenty. We've got our DVDs. We've got BritBox, streaming,
Well, you look at it was Gary. It says there's so much out there. You're never going to run out of things to watch, read, whatever, because there's so much classic stuff out there.
Exactly. At the moment.
That's what I'm saying. See this one shelf here, right? That's minimum. If I watched every as many as I could every day, that's minimum 6 months. And that's watching it once and just going on to the next one without thinking about it. One shelf. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 shelves worth of DVDs.
Wow.
And that's not include my Doctor Who ones. Sorry, that's not include my Doctor Who ones. They're separate. But I've got 10 shelves worth of DVDs, and one shelf, if I was watching one after the other, would take me minimum 6 months.
Yeah.
you can't take anything in if you're just watching one after the other. That's why I rewatch and binge watch and then watch every. And I've always got different things on my watch list because I've got stuff there that I got before Christmas I've not even looked at yet because I've been too busy taking in what I have and then going through it. It's the same as there's my next movie set to watch.
Oh yes, love it.
Got it for my birthday. My wife bought it for my birthday.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So all 7 movies. I've also got the TV show. Love the TV show. I love everything Tremors. Yeah. I always had since the first movie.
I love the first movie so much.
Oh, just the first movie, Kevin Bacon.
Great stuff.
It's clever.
It just worked.
So different. It's basically, somebody says it's Jaws on land. And it's sort of is.
That's a good description.
Yeah.
But it's sort of is.
But it's also a tiny bit campy, but in the best possible way. You know, it's great. It's got a little bit of sort of campiness and a little bit of some good horror and
it didn't take itself too seriously.
Exactly. Yeah.
And even after that, the movies after that didn't take themselves too seriously. They had fun.
Yeah.
Bert Gummer. They just basically they had fun with their characters, and that's what I liked about them.
Yeah.
But anywho. I never saw Broadchurch, so I couldn't tell you if she was good, bad, or indifferent. My wife liked it, so I'm assuming she was good in it.
Yeah, we've just been having a chat in the chat. But yeah, I think we have our own views on Jodie, but I think to be fair, she was just miscast, as you know, very miscast, which has done her a great disservice.
And I think you're right there, but I also think what she's done is a disservice. This thing, I don't know if it's tipping. That is.
Yeah.
I can't actually see. As soon as I put my hand on it, I can't actually see because I'm doing it in reverse. Anywho, the thing is, the reason I think she's miscast, it's not as much the writing, I suppose. It's what she says in the media doesn't help. So miscast or not,
definitely.
what she says, it's the same as any actor. If they start slagging the fans, sorry, you're in the wrong role. Because your object, the object of any actor, doesn't matter what role it's in. I like the Big Bang Theory. I know a lot of people don't. I like the Big Bang Theory.
Oh, we love the Big Bang Theory.
My favourite is Howard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But see the actor, don't like the actor. But I like the character. So I find it easy to separate them. But I've heard some of the things he said, and you're sitting there thinking, can you still like his character after that? And that's why, as soon as somebody actually makes you think that the character is affected by what you say, then they're doing it wrong. Because you could love a character, but just don't even care about the actor. But if you love a character and the actor says something that makes you think everything they say is bad, then you come back to that character you love and you just hear what they said about that. What they said makes you think every time you see that character that you loved. That's what I think it is. You don't need to like or whatever. I mean, I like a lot of the characters in my programs, but I've met very few, and I'm okay with that because some of the ones I would love to meet, I've heard people saying you don't want to meet them. They're not the greatest. They're not the nicest people. And
there is something to that. I think. I remember years ago I was at a Star Trek con in the States, and John Delancey was there, and we were so excited because we thought, oh my God, it's Q. You know, we're just, you know, everybody was so excited to see him come out on stage, and he was basically kind of a douche. He was really sort of, he came out and he was okay for a few minutes, but then people people started asking him questions. They were taking questions from the audience, and everybody was, people wanted to know about Q, and they were asking him different questions. And he started to get really annoyed, and he was kind of like, hey, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about my current projects. And we were kind of like, dude, you're at a Star Trek convention, man.
Yeah, you're at a con.
We're going to ask you about Q. Well, they're paying you to be there.
I know, and that's when it becomes weird, because yes, you could say, listen, guys, this is what I know you are going to ask me all these questions, and I'm going to take time to answer them. However, can I tell you what I'm doing just now, just to get that out of the way? There you go. There's a reasonable thing to say to people. I will take your questions, but there's other stuff I want to talk about. And while I'm here, I'm going to actually, and I've got you in front of me, I'm going to tell you about other stuff that's no Star Trek. I guess a way to say it. Do you know who my favourite is? And I still want to meet no matter what? Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell.
Oh, I love Bruce Campbell.
Groovy baby. I basically love. It's just I've seen a lot of stuff, interviews. I've seen quizzes and stuff like that, where somebody will come up and say something to him, and he'll go in his pocket and take $1 and go, "You earned that." And it's just these silly things that if somebody says something, because he's obviously a geek as well, because a lot of the stuff he knows, and he gets the references that other people make about his programs and other programs, and if it ties into what they're talking about, I'm quite happy with a fan and actually go up and go, "Here's $1 and thank you." And it's that sort of thing. So if you've got an actor who can make you feel appreciated, not liked or whatever, appreciated, then it's a positive.
Yeah.
I don't like David Hasselhoff, right? I did like Knight Rider, but what he does now, I just don't watch. However, I've never heard anything bad about him. And do you know why? Because he lost his stardom, as it were, after Knight Rider. It sort of went downhill. But he moved. He went to Germany, and the fans there, singing or whatever he did, sort of brought him back up. So he had Knight Rider and Baywatch, and then it sort of fizzled out for him. When he was over in Germany, those fans kept him going until he came back up and he was doing things. And now what he does is, because I know a couple of people have been to some of these, was it Britain Got Talent and whatever he was on, and he comes out and he gabs to people for ages before he goes into it. Whereas you've got other ones who just walk straight in, past you, not even acknowledge there's a crowd there. And you're sitting there thinking, that's because they've never lost. They've been told they're great, they're great, they're great, they're always there, they're great, they're great, the fans are there for you. And then they get to the point where they start believing it. And so they walk past people and don't even acknowledge they're there. Yet you've got ones who appreciate it because they did lose it. And it was those people who brought them back. And David Hasselhoff, as far as I've understood, he's very appreciative of fans. And it's because he knows the fans make him what he is. And I can't see anything wrong with people appreciating fandom. They don't need to always want the fans all round their house all the time.
Well,
but appreciating people who give you the life you are living.
Absolutely. And many times fandoms have gotten us through some of the most, upsetting, traumatic things in our lives, So one of the things I think happened for me personally is back in the 80s, we got really spoiled by Star Trek conventions because I lived on the East Coast. So we never really got Shatner, but we used to get Nichelle, we used to get George used to come to a lot of them, Mark Leonard, Grace Lee Whitney, and they were so lovely. James Doohan, used to come to them all the time, and they all appreciated the fans in a way that never made you feel like they were sort of taking the mick out of you or that they were tired of you or that you were a bit of a nuisance. No matter how long, how many hours and hours they sat at a table signing things, looking in people's faces, asking people's names, really, really sort of having an interaction with them always impressed me. And I think I got a bit spoiled. So like when I got to see actors like John Delancey and Marina Sirtis was at one con, obviously years later when Next Gen was out. And I was kind of like, oh, I was a little bit disappointed after meeting her because she had these bodyguards with her sitting at the table after her talk, and we were waiting to get autographs. And that she would have been the first Next Gen actor that I would have been able to get an autograph from, and I was thinking, okay, so I was in the queue, but I noticed that her bodyguards were kind of taking the piss out of people in the queue. And I didn't like that. I was like, wait a second now, these people have paid a lot of money to be here. Mm-hmm. They love this series. And she really should have stopped them, I think, to say,
I think it's obviously, if they are doing that whilst she can hear, then they've obviously heard her saying it and they feel comfortable enough to say it. Possibly. Or they were just jerks themselves and it made her look bad. But she had a sort of, I don't know what it was like. It was a little bit condescending, but maybe because I heard the bodyguards, and I watched their body language, and they were kind of like smirking and, they just thought the whole thing was pretty funny, but not in a sort of nice way. They were kind of, they just looked like they were taking the piss a bit. And it just totally deflated me. And I just, after that, I just didn't seek out any more autographs from anybody because I was too afraid I would come away with a bad impression and it would ruin the show for me. I know the feeling because I've taken a couple of my nieces or goddaughters to cons, and I didn't bother going to see any of the new Who stars. They loved them, so they were all dressed up, ready to go. Most of them, loveliest people. I know the one that played Billy Piper's Rose's mother. I can't remember her name, but
Camille or something.
Aye, she was really nice. She came out from behind the table, gave them a wee cuddle, get a picture with them, even though they were only going to get their autograph. Or she was talking to them while they were on the queue, waiting for their sisters to get the autograph, and she would come out and get photos with them. Really nice. Two tables along. Billy Piper. Sign. Right, I'm leaving, but you've got a queue there. Don't care. And I'm sitting there thinking, who would I want to come back to and spend my money on? Her.
Well, that's it.
I know who I'm not going to spend money on. So if I was there and somebody says to me, could I get some money to go and get an autograph? Who are you going for? Well, I'm not giving you money for that. I like it. Don't care. You're not getting spending money on that because
it's the principle of it.
It didn't bother me, but the fact is, why should anybody have made to feel that size because they want to see somebody they really like? You've got so many people, like Kate Manning. It's a lovely person ever. Even I had got the picture with her. I went to get the autograph. She came her way out and she got another picture with me, gave me a hug, and I thought,
she's magic. She's absolute magic. Yeah.
But yet, I've met a load, like William Russell. He's a really nice guy to be chat to him, but he's not going to come around the table because he's a bit older, and I can understand that. But still quite happy to chat to you. Chris Barry, he made my daughter's day, but he's still gabbed to us. We talked about British Empire and stuff like that, and even the questions. Robert Llewellyn was the first guy, the group, actually first celebrity I got an autograph from, Robert Llewellyn. And I spent ages. He would come out, I would get my picture, and one of the guys that got my phone to take the picture took a video by mistake. And Robert, and you could hear him in the back slagging it to death. Every time we listen to it, we are hilariously funny because he's getting slagged by Robert Llewellyn, Kryten, about how not to use technology. And we just found it funny.
Yeah.
Same as Non Love It. I met him at the Barrowlands Comic Con. I spent ages gabbing to him. It's because I liked his humour anyway prior to Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
I just find him a really nice, funny guy. and his humour's dead dry, because he reminds me, my dad's humour's dead dry, was dead dry, and that's why I appreciated it. But every one of them, I've not came across one that I've wanted to see that have made me feel that size. There's ones I've gone to see that made me feel, sorry guys, I would love to spend more time, but look at the size of the queue. I can understand that, because I went for 2 autographs. One for my oldest daughter. She wanted James Matheson, Spike from Buffy. He was also in Doctor Who with Torchwood with Captain Jack.
Yeah.
You know Spike from Buffy, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
James Matheson or something like that. Anyway.
Yes, that's it.
James Marcus.
He was, listen guys, I would love to spend a bit more time. I would love to spend, but I hope you don't mind, but I need to sign his autograph because look at the queue. And the queue was a wee bloody out the door. No issues with that, but it was nice to have to say, I would love to spend time, just don't have it.
Well, that's it. You can tell the sincerity is there, you know.
Christopher Judd, Teal'c. His was the same. The queue was out the door. Still smiled. Sorry, guys. I know you want to ask me 100 questions. Maybe at the panel I'll be able to answer them, but I can't do it just now. What would you like signed? It was nice to everybody in that queue. It took about 4 hours to go down. I don't have issues with people saying, listen, I would love to spend the time. I just don't have it. But I don't like people going, sign, next, sign, next, give me your money, sign, next. Why?
Yeah, it definitely
feel unimportant.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's my feeling on it now, is that unless it was somebody from, you know, Classic Who, Classic Trek, you know, and, you know, we're losing a lot of them now, bless them.
William Shatner and Michelle Nichols, that's 2 I would love to meet.
Nichelle used to come to a lot of cons, so I was very fortunate to meet Nichelle a couple of times, and she was just as lovely as you would expect her to be. She is larger than life, but she's just, again, so appreciative and so switched on to the fans and just loves it. She absolutely loves it.
One of my first crushes.
Oh, she is gorgeous. I mean, when I saw her, I met her in the 80s, and honest to God, you know what? I actually took an in-breath when I met her for the first time, because she was just so beautiful. Just an amazing lady.
Oh, it's basically, it's I think if I ever met her, I would be, how could you talk to someone you've grown up and such an icon?
Well, that's it. But she's so down to earth, you know, and she loves the fans. She really appreciated what Star Trek stood for, what the original Trek stood for. And she's full of stories and full of great anecdotes, and, you know, and she's just a good entertainer all the way around. She's a good communicator. She loves talking to people. And bless her heart, she's quite unwell these days, but, you know, back in the 80s, 90s, you know, if she came to a con, you know, she was just really, really lovely.
And I think that just goes to show classic actors and actresses, because they say now there's no such thing as a movie star. There's just celebrities celebrities for the sake of celebrity. There's people who think they're celebrity and all they do is just appear in newspapers and stuff like that. Yeah. So I'm taking this off because it's sliding. I can feel it about to go doink. But I think not classic train, but just people who actually worked their way through, not just somebody who just went, got a part, and that's it, they're suddenly famous. It's people who worked their way through some of the hardest times in movie and TV history. Yeah. That they still have got such a positive outlook, to me, are stars. And that's the people I want to meet. That's the people who I would be in awe of.
That's exactly it. And that's what comes across with a lot of the original series actors, the class, the absolute just down to earth appreciation that they have, you know.
And the thing is, see if they're not nice people.
Yeah.
They know how to hide it so you appreciate them still.
And exactly,
because
they deliver.
Want you to know they're not nice people. They want you to love them because
you
make me money by tuning in.
Well, that's it. And what's better than sending a fan away with the feeling that they've just met, you know, one of their, you know, favorite actors or favorite characters. I would much rather know that, you know, you send somebody away with a good feeling than to just sit there with an attitude and just have this sort of, oh, what time is it? I'm going now, you know, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, and unfortunately, I think I'm not, you know, certainly not all of them by any stretch, but quite a few of the more recent, you know, actors and actresses, you just get a feeling where, you know, like I said, it even started creeping in with Next Gen because it was a different type of an actor to, I suppose it, you know, it is their experience of the industry themselves. You know, I mean, the classic Trek crew had a totally different, you know, experience. As you say, they came through a lot harder times, which I think humanizes you a lot. But if you grow up like in a, you know, in a somewhat sort of privileged scenario and things, sometimes they don't have that. They don't have that empathy.
Yeah.
You know, with somebody that's standing in front of them. You know,
you look at the old saying, which is, it's not wrong, is be careful who you step on your way up, because they're the ones you want to put to catch you on the way down. So basically, as you're climbing the ladders, don't step in people's fingers, because you're going to fall, and you want those people to help you and catch you on the way down.
Yeah,
whereas
and that
now the actors just want to step over people to get famous.
Yeah,
and famous for being famous. Now, as Retro Dickie said, but the golden age is definitely, they knew how to, right, they might not have been nice people, but they had people to tell them, listen, you need your fans to love you.
Yeah.
So see your naughty behaviour, your perversions, whatever, we don't make them public. Make your fans feel appreciated, because they're the ones that are going to come see you in the movie, in the TV show, to make you famous. You no fans, you've nothing. Now people think fans don't matter. Somebody's paying me. Don't care if only 300,000 are watching my programme. You know what I mean? Right, fair enough, I would actually like 300 to watch my programme, but that's a different story. But if you're actually getting paid big bucks, you want a lot of people to actually watch it so you can get the big bucks. But they don't appreciate it. They just want to step over somebody to get the next big thing.
Yeah. And I think to some extent, as long as you know that going in now these days, you don't build up that expectation. You just watch the show, you enjoy the show, whoever they are behind the scenes, you know, unless they're really something horrible, you know, you just have to sort of separate the actor from the role. But my way of dealing with that is I just don't want to meet them, because I don't want to be disappointed.
Yeah, I agree. That's the way forward, because but unfortunately with social media now, they're out there. They're telling you on Twitter, Facebook,
unfortunately,
TikTok, YouTube, even on the news or newspapers. Yeah, I mean, yous are all bad people because I don't agree with you. I don't agree with who you voted for. I don't agree with how you live your life. So yous are bad people.
Yeah.
Even though I don't agree with you and I do mine's completely the way I want it to do, you're not allowed to do what you want to do. Sorry,
Yeah.
that is...
That's
If somebody
the
starts
big
off by
mistake.
telling me I shouldn't do this, guess what? If they're telling me what I shouldn't do, I'm more likely to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Because, no, I'm stubborn. I've always been stubborn. But the fact is, if somebody tells me, it's the same as a program, right? Say, for instance, I say to you, you'll not like this program because, unless I give you a reason why I think you might not like it, why would you listen to me? If I say you won't like this program, and you say why, just because,
Yeah.
is that going to actually make you want to watch it?
Yeah.
No, but if I say you're going to like this you're not going to like this program because they did this and did that, and I remember seeing here and you didn't like this, so you're probably not going to like it because of this other example. Then you're more likely to think probably won't watch it, so I'll not waste my time. But if I just said you won't like it, what's that going to tell you? Nothing. It's going to. So if people can't give you an explanation of things, and actors can't take the time to actually just appreciate the fact that you are a fan. They don't need to like you. You don't need to actually appreciate you. But as long as they give the impression they're actors, adult pretenders, as Neurotic says, as long as they can actually pretend, they don't need to actually tell me they like me. They just need to pretend that they're happy to meet me. As soon as they walk away, they could call me anything they want. As long as I don't hear them, is it going to affect me? No. But I'm just a grumpy old bugger.
Wow. You're not alone.
Yeah. There's a lot of us about.
There's a lot of us in that club. Yeah.
Unfortunately, even when I was in my 20s, I was a grumpy old bugger. According to my family, I've always been grumpy, and I've been older than my age. But then again, as I've said before, my body thinks I'm my mind thinks I'm 29, my humour thinks I'm 12, and my body's wondered why I'm not died yet. Yes, and as the great Tom Baker once says, "What's the point of growing up if you can't be childish at times?" And I'm always childish.
Oh, that's a wonderful quote.
Indeed.
That's a wonderful line. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're going to wind up there.
Yep.
2.5 hours. Just goes to show that rambled on a bit longer than they expected.
This is what happens. This is what happens when you get a bunch of fans together.
Yes. And I hope to have you back on at another time, because we're going to do all 13 seasons. So
fantastic. Yeah, well,
yes, definitely.
And
yeah,
next week
be
I'm going to do it. And next week I'm going to do season. First time in ages I've actually been organised. I've got my Doctor Who book. And I've actually written things down. Whoa! I'm not organised normally because I can't write with this. So the fact that I've written it down means I want to remember it. If I type it in my computer, it gets lost in all my files. But if I write it down, it means I definitely want to.
Yeah.
So, scheduled. And Sudoku 24 is next week's guest for season 3. And I hope you all tune in. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. I'm just trying to get it. Believe it or not, guys.
Thanks so much for everybody in the chat as well, Sadako and Retro Dicky.
Yes, thank you.
Yes,
thank you very much. It's been really great.
To everybody in the chat, and Retro Dicky, Sudoku 24. Thank you for all the comments and corrections and filling us in with some of the names that I forgot because I'm that old. However, I was going to say something I can't remember. Told you what that old age does, doesn't it?
Oh, I'm telling you. I scare myself sometimes.
Yeah. So as I said, a month and a half ago I was on Daniel, the Scottish Davros' channel. And he got people to subscribe. So I went from 12 subscribers, I tripled it in a month. Now I'm up to over 40 subscribers. I'm getting happy. I'm getting people, that's what I said. The more people subscribe, the more I realise my family don't like me because I can't get that many to listen to me in the big, and I've got a big family. I've got a big family. And I can't even get half of that to listen to me. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for giving us fantastic reviews and opinions on season 2.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for having us on.
And more than welcome. And I hope to have you on again. And guys, remember, I'm not old. I'm classic, even though my halo slipped. Sorry, my hollow slipped. I was going to say hollow slip, but it didn't sound as good. But I used to be an angel, but my halo slipped, and now I've got a brass neck. That's what my dad always used to say. He used to be an angel until his halo slipped. Now he's got a brass neck. I steal all my dad's dad jokes, so
I like that one.
That's why my kids don't like my dad jokes, because I've heard them from my dad and his dad. It's all the same jokes. We just rehash.
Well, you have a responsibility to pass them down then.
Some of my dad's jokes are older than Bob Monk's houses. But thank you again for joining me, and I hope to have you on again. And remember, guys, like and share, comment, please. These all hit the algorithm. Although I don't know what it does, I'm pretending I know what I'm talking about. But then again, I do that my whole life. That's why
it all helps. Everything, every little bit helps. Yes,
I do. As I said, I get into IT, and I've never actually touched a computer in my life. And as I've always said, if you can't baffle them with brilliance, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with bull.
Yeah, that's it.
And even though I can't even actually speak good proper English, but that's my hologram slipping. That's because I'm tied.
Nice way.
Yeah, I got it back. I knew I was going to use that line at some point because I'd messed a lot of words up. But thank you again, and tune in next Wednesday for season 3. And if you would like to tune in on Sunday, I'm going to be speaking to Daniel and Charlotte, and we're just going to be talking Faulty Towers and general geek stuff.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And it'll be Sunday about 8 o'clock as well. So
great.
Thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll see you there.
Such a fun night. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Ladies and gents, thank you and good night. PJ may be out.
Right.
And I say